ESG は、ミッドと、ジャングルが、主体で動いて、ホリスとメイゼットが、ネオとリマインドを抑えてくれれば、いい試合になるんじゃないかなって思ってます。
バーニングコアはミッドのホリ選手がキャリー力があるんですけど、ESG にはリマインドがいて、もっと強いんで、特に対策とかないですね。
2連敗した時は、すごいみんな世界の終わりみたいな感じだったんですけど、まだ LJL7 試合あるんで、改善点はやっぱりいろいろ見えてるんで、徐々に改善していこうって感じで、みんな前向きに練習してますね。
ゼロスト選手はディフェンシブなプレーがうまくて捕まえるのが難しいんですけど、TP でプレッシャー作って捕まえていきたいです。
その徐々に改善してる点を、ファンや視聴者の人に、この試合で見せれたらいいなって思ってます。
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? This is your host, Josh Howard, coming at you live from Seattle, Washington with all the LJL action. Today, we got a couple of great matches going on. We're going to be watching Unsold Stuff Gaming take on Burning Core, and later on, we'll have DetonatioN FocusMe playing up against Rascal Jester. Now, this week has not been as potentially evenly matched as a lot of the weeks that we've had before. This week, we've had all three of the top three teams taking on all three of the bottom three teams. And we're still going to see some great games, I think. Burning Core and Rascal Jester have both been doing rather well overall for themselves. Even though they're sitting towards the bottom of the standings, they've both been able to have at least close games and take, even a couple wins off of other teams right now. None of the teams that we're going to be seeing are really completely out of contention today. But that doesn't mean that we don't have heavy favorites coming in for Unsold Stuff Gaming and DetonatioN FocusMe as well. The first match we got going on is going to be Unsold Stuff Gaming taking on Burning Core, like we said. And really, the story of this game, or really any game that Burning Core participates in, is really going to be focused around the mid lane. We've seen Hollis play 5 different champions at this point and only find some kind of success on one. You could argue a little bit for 2 of them, but he gets... he does solidly in lane, even against some of our stronger mid laners. Today, he's going to be playing up against Remind. He's making a strong case for being the best mid laner in all of Japan. And Hollis will probably be able to go toe-to-toe with him in the laning phase, but as soon as we exit the laning phase, we'll see where the faults start to come into Burning Core. The level of communication, the level of macro movement on the team is not quite up to par with what we might expect, even from some of the other bottom 3 teams, but it's... they still find a way to scrap all the time. Mei Z is not actually your jungler there. I'm not quite sure what those stats are trying to tell us. He is actually our top laner. We've been seeing him play a couple different champions. Most recently, he's been playing Renekton and Jarvan for the team to decent success, and we do see he has been getting caught out a little bit as well. We talked a little bit at the beginning of the season about how Burning Core looked a fair amount like the Fnatic of old with Xpeke and Soaz and their ability to roam around the map and really create pressure everywhere. Unfortunately, it turns out... Andy's sitting there with the peace sign. I love it. But it turns out that it doesn't matter if you're able to create... or you aren't able to create pressure if you just keep getting caught out while you're doing it. And as long as we've been going through all of this, Hollis and Mei Z, while they are creating some pressure, it's very quickly cut off, and the rest of Burning Core is not able to pick up anything off of the back of it. So realistically, we should see something similar when we haven't seen Burning Core really set themselves up for success. They're putting Hollis on these champions that he can't really roam around individually on. His Zed and LeBlanc have been banned out literally every game this split. And until he can start finding his way onto other champions, even something like a Yasuo where you can start moving around in the side lanes, a Fizz, something like that, he's gonna be in this bit of a rut where he doesn't really know what to do. And their pick and ban phase is not the greatest thing that we can envy either. Last week, we saw them target 11 of their 15 bans onto Savage. and he ended up playing Rengar and Lee Sin in 2 of the games anyway. And so it's not like they're really focusing on banning things that is necessarily the most effective, and it's really been hurting their champion select. But we're going to get right into it, and no surprise, Zed, the first ban against Hollis. We're probably going to see our next one come out as LeBlanc as well. But Burning Core has a lot of options available to them. Unsold Stuff Gaming has a lot of different potential target bans to go for, then they are going to go for that Zac. I believe the only time we've seen Zac come through, it's lost both times. The most, the one that sticks out in my mind is definitely against Rampage when Rascal Jester tried to play it, and they got caught out. Tussel's Ivern completely shut that down. But we are going to see a Nidalee ban against... Oh, wait a second. Mei Z is the jungler. It does look like they are going to be switching things up a little bit. I saw a little bit of that, but I completely forgot about it. And so they are going to be banning out a couple of these carry champions. But that means that the LeBlanc for Hollis has not been banned out. Instead, it's Mei Z's Nidalee and his Graves. And it'll be interesting to see what it is that he brings to the table that we didn't see before. And on the other hand, what does Osterare do in the top lane? He's been the jungler for his entire career, and right now he's not going to be in the greatest spot to really do a whole lot. And with the Caitlyn first pick, that does leave the LeBlanc that Hollis has had banned away from him this entire season so far. And we'll have to see what it is they do pick up. They might opt to go for a stronger top and jungle pick, simply because they are newer to the stage in these regards. They do need to find something that they are comfortable on. They are going to be looking at that Lee Sin, which is not surprising. Lee Sin, after Zac, is pretty much the #1 jungler in pretty much every region. He doesn't tell the other team anything about your composition. He can siege, he can pick, he can team fight. He's just all around solid and is able to pick the fights that he wants whenever he wants to. But the other thing that they're going to have to be picking up is they are going to, by picking up that early Lee Sin, they take a lot of pressure off of Unsold Stuff in terms of the jungle. Because now they have so many different options available to them. Are they going to be playing that Elise as the other top tier jungler? Do they want to go something different? We've seen Neo play a little bit of Olaf. We've seen a bunch of other different things come out from the jungle role. So after Lee Sin and Elise, we see things like we said, we see that Olaf, we see the Kha'Zix, we see a little bit of Rengar, and the Ivern. Neo was the only player in Japan in spring to actually pick up this Ivern, and it's good to see him going back to that. It's a very solid pick, and when you're pairing it with the Tom Kench, which is probably going to NTA, was a very strong, or very contested top lane pick in spring. It's going to create a lot of safety for Heretti on this Caitlyn. But we do see the LeBlanc ban locked in. Not going to let it go to round 2 bans without him picking that up. And now we're really going to get to see whether or not this champion is what Burning Core needs to really take off. The USG has built a solid anti-LeBlanc composition. But it's going to be interesting to see whether or not Hollis can power through that. With the Orianna banned away from Remind, that's one of the signature champions, a hugely contested pick these days in the LJL and around the world. It's not a priority pick, but it's what everybody seems to be falling back upon. It's such a safe pick against LeBlanc as well. But we also see that Galio picked up, banned away, and that's not surprising. None of these bans are surprising at all. But everybody seems to be going towards something they're very comfortable on, very interested in moving forward into the rest of the season. And Syndra banned out as well. There's still a couple options available for Remind in the mid lane. We know that some regions like to play Swain against LeBlanc. We know that other people like to play Cassiopeia against LeBlanc, and those are both available right now. And with the Lulu being picked up for Legato, it's going to be an interesting spot. Zeros is being set up for success because nobody will be focusing him, and he'll be doing crap tons of damage, even here on patch 711. Meanwhile, the Kennen pickup. Kennen is a very divisive champ for lots of people. A lot of people like the amount of damage he brings and the split push potential he brings, but he is not nearly as easy of a champ to play as most people think it is. You do have to go into the different mindset. So many people are used to playing the AP Kennen, where you use a slicing maelstrom and you just charge flash into the enemy team, stun 4 people, and then you can win the team fight off of the damage of that alone. We saw some great players of this, including Smeb at last year's Worlds, just completely destroying an entire team with that. But we do see the Cassiopeia locked in for Remind. He did play that a little bit previously. Did find some success against it, against Detonation FocusMe in their first game, but not so much in their last games. He did get caught out a lot by Paz's Urgot in that series. But the Kled locked in for Ostrori being our last pickup for the game. And right now, I do really like Unsold Stuff Gaming's composition. They did let the LeBlanc through, but they had a plan for it. They have that Cassiopeia as many people consider it a strong counter pick. They have the Kennen, which is just a strong champion in general, and they have great peel for Heredia as well between the Ivern and the Tom Kench. It's going to be very difficult for Burning Core to really get onto that backline. They have ways to get directly on there. They do have that LeBlanc with the distortion. They have the charge coming out of Kled. They can get to Caitlyn. That's not the issue. The issue will be finalizing the kill. If they really think that they can, if they're really on top of it, Tom Kench will just devour him and walk away, and Enti and Heredia will just be like, all right, cool, we'll pick a fight in a couple moments. Ivern with Daisy and the Trigger Seed is doing so much, and they have so many peel options. So it's really going to be, the onus is definitely going to be on Burning Core. They have a much more aggressive team composition in this game than we have seen before, and we do need to see them use it. But we do have our Twitter vote coming in. Hashtag USG win for Unsold Stuff, or hashtag Burning Core win. It's going to be a great series, guys. We got our first game coming in, and we'll be loading into the Rift in just one moment. But, yeah, it's going to be a very interesting thing. I do like that we do finally get to see Hollis on LeBlanc, a champion he made a large name for himself on, both in solo queue as well as in the Challenger Series. But with so many changes to the team composition here for Burning Core, it's going to be interesting to see exactly what it is they choose to do to keep themselves in a good spot. And we still see great adaptation. Japan took a long time to get onto the door and shield changes, but they finally seem to be figuring it out. We do see 4 of them right here. Otherwise, nothing too exciting coming out right now at the beginning of the game in terms of itemization. But it's definitely going to be scary right now, as Mei-Z, you might not be as aware of the different jungle tricks that Ivern does like to bring out. Ivern has so many pathing options available to him. He goes to his own buff, he goes to your buff, he goes to anybody's jungle camps wherever on the map he wants to, and he'll be great. Does get spotted out right there with the Sonic Wave, but it's not going to be doing a whole lot. He's still going to be very healthy, and all he has to do is go back to any of the camps, and he'll be totally fine. He is attackable early a little bit. Should Mei-Z choose to move around and attack him in his own jungle, it'll be great. But that's one of the most even Twitter votes we've seen here in the LJL probably this entire season. Lots of people have a lot of faith in Burning Core to really find their stride, but they just have not so far. They're currently 1-4 on games, as Neo does choose to start here with the Raptors. Mei-Z is going to go for a little bit of a faster push around, as he is getting that help right there. And look at, I'm sure anybody who's been following League of Legends for a while remembers how punishing Faker was on this Cassiopeia up against LeBlanc at Midseason Invitational. And right now, Remind is starting to do a similar thing, not denying an entire way from Hollis yet, but he's in a great spot to continue to push him around as they start to hit level 2. Denying minions, denying experience. He's already level 2, and Hollis is not in a good spot right now. He's not able to pick up CS, not able to pick up anything, and he does have the teleport, so we did see last time we saw this matchup, LeBlanc had to back extremely early, simply because they couldn't even CS under their own turret. But it doesn't look like Neo's going to be going for anything too exciting, too cheeky with his movement around the map. But we already see a good lead coming out for Unsold Stuff Gaming. Already 400 gold at under 3 minutes, simply because they've been able to pick up all the CS and push their opponents in so early into the game. And with the Mountain Dragon as the first dragon in this game, it's going to be very interesting to see. We've seen some interesting prioritization of the different drakes in the Japanese league. Last week, we saw DetonatioN, FocusMe, and Unsold Stuff Gaming just completely ignore dragons like the Cloud Drake, but just completely go all in on the other hand when another dragon was available. Immediately after the Cloud Drake was taken, an Infernal Drake became available, and we saw them immediately choose to fight over that, which is an interesting decision. It's not a bad thing at all for them to necessarily have those prioritizations, but just not picking up the dragon at all can really put you in a harrowing spot much later on in the game. And here we see Hollis going in to remind, and there's already Maisie. They're in a good spot right here. Misses the Sonic Wave, and with the bows coming out of Neo, they are flashing forward. So much damage being put onto Hollis. One more take of anything will be enough, but not going to be able to find him. He does not have that flash anymore. Neo's just going to come in, put a little bit more damage onto Maisie, and push them around. But lots of early aggression getting put down there by both sides, and definitely Unsold stuff going to be coming out on top. Remind not yet having to back, building up a large CS lead, as well as being able to save that cleanse. He's not going to have the ability to teleport back to lane. Hollis is going to do so, picks up that Dark Seal, hoping to start snowballing this game. But man, we just see right now, Optimum being put on one of the most dominant top lane champs is just being able to push around Osterora. I don't believe Osterora has been able to put himself back onto Scarl this entire game after getting knocked off simply because of the incredible auto attack range that Kennen brings to the top lane. Neo does get spotted out a little again by Mei Z, but it's not going to do a whole lot. They have some idea of where he is. I don't expect to see a dive this early in the game, especially now that Osterora has just remounted. It's going to be a very dangerous spot, but he's already so far behind, and that's good. I was saying earlier I expected Hollis to really be able to go toe-to-toe with Remind, but he did get baited by that LeBlanc pickup. He wanted to play. He's been wanting to play it this entire season, and now that he has the option to do so, he just picks it directly into a strong counter pick, and we've seen how strong Remind is on this Cassiopeia. So ultimately, it's going to be very difficult for Breeding Core to find their way onto Remind, onto Heretti, and actually solidify those kills. Lots of damage being put down. Not even level 6 yet. With the tier stacking up, Remind doesn't necessarily have the combat stats he wants to really go toe-to-toe. Here up against Hollis, going to be content to ride on his individual skill, his mechanical ability, and hopefully the ability to outplay Hollis. And he should be able to hit level 6 at very much the same time. But we are going to need to see other people coming to hey Neo, you're on a ward there. There he goes. He realizes it. But it does put him in a little bit of an awkward spot. Every time they go in, both of these champions are taking so much damage as they move around, simply because of how high these guys' base damages really are. Neither of the junglers particularly making aggressive moves, and on the side of Unsold stuff, he doesn't necessarily feel the need to. Both of his solo laners are winning fairly significantly. Their bottom lane is starting to get a small lead as Heretti and oh my god, beautiful Petrifying Gaze, getting so much damage onto Hollis. Traps him up, getting a lot of damage here, but not going to be able to finalize it. And that is a huge ultimate there being blown by Remind. Great prediction on that distortion coming in. And right now, with the movement of of NT and Neo, this could be a very dangerous spot for Hollis. Maisie does spot out Neo on the backside, and NT is standing on a ward. They know this is going on, and this could be really dangerous regardless. NT does not know that he's spotted out, but the miasma comes in, flash forward. First blood goes over to NT as he just completely shuts down Hollis. No ability to outplay that, no ability to dodge an auto attack. And right now, as Opperman moves forward, we did see that Neo ended up taking the red buff away from Maisie. Unsold stuff is in a fantastic position to continue into the rest of this game. Neo actually opting to pick up a Dark Seal onto Ivern. Very confident, very aggressive. He thinks he'll be able to help out the rest of his team, and he's going to use that extra AP. He's going to slow down the rest of his build. But if you're ahead, there's not much more effective than a Dark Seal. And, crap, what does it build into? The name escapes me, but it gives you so much extra AP, and if you fully stack it, you will get that extra cooldown reduction. Remind hasn't backed yet, and he is getting pushed out a little bit by Hollis, but he'll be able to pick up that blue buff, go back to base, and he'll be in a good spot, sitting pretty with the assist gold from First Blood. But an interesting couple of pickups right now. We not only see the Dark Seal, but we also see the mobility boots coming out of Neo. He's going to find Osterora. Just gets the trigger seed, the blast cone pops over the wall. he's going to be sitting pretty. He's not really worried about the damage that Astrari can be bringing at this point in the game, but he's going to be moving around. He's going to rely on his base stats for the most part, really just trying to take everything away from Mei Z, move into his jungle, and just counter everything that Lee Sin does in this game. Because if he can just be there and provide his shields, provide his roots, he's going to be in a fantastic position. Lee Sin is a great early and mid game champion, but right now he's not in a position where he can really contest with anything. A little bit of damage getting put down onto her mind again. We're going to see Hollis do this over and over and over again. But it is starting to look more dangerous as Neo is going to start moving around into the jungle, and he's so fast he can be anywhere on the jungle pretty much at any time, as they do start fighting a lot more here in the mid lane. Both of them, Remind does have his ultimate available, and here comes Neo finding out Zeros and Legato. Enti's going to get the first part of it, stuns up Neo, and here's the teleport coming out as well from Opperman. They're going to find the Devour onto Zeros. He's got nowhere to go, no summoners left, but the real question is, will Legato go down as well? And then he will. That's a double kill going over to Unsold stuff. Lots of resources being devoted, but that's alright. They're going to be able to pick up the drag. Oh, that's a big ultimate coming out from Remind, and Hollis knows he has the ability to put out so much damage right now. He does do it, but USG was 4 members here in the bot lane. That one mistake of being a little bit too far forward when Neo showed up is going to cost him this first turret from full health, and that's going to put so much gold into USG's pocket. Mei Z and Astrori are going to try and trade it back in the top lane, and they probably will, but it's just such a not a good trade here for Burning Core. USG is able to do whatever they want with the members that they have on the map, and we see a large CS lead starting to come out for every member on the team except for the jungle. And Ivern's numbers are really difficult to tell what exactly is going on, but they're going to be able to start moving around. Opperman is already starting to put some aggression onto the second bot lane turret. In Unsold stuff, they were already in a good position to play the defensive fights they wanted to play at the beginning with the Ivern, with the Tahm Kench, with the Slicing Maelstrom. But now they're able to make such incredibly aggressive moves as Heretti is going to start moving in. Not going to be able to find a whole lot more than that. He did have his flash available, but without his ultimate ready, Remind's not confident that he'd be able to pick up the kill. He is sitting on the Catalyst and just the tier right now. And Burning Core is just struggling to find a way into this game. Mei Z has not been able to have the kind of effective ganks, and Astrari hasn't had any attention from either side of the game right now. And they haven't needed to. Opperman's been doing fine on his own. And Heretti and Enti, when you see that first turret go down, you'll see this in just about every professional match. You're going to shift your bot lane and your support up to the top lane. You're going to take that other turret, but it's also a beacon. Hey, everybody, we're moving up here. We don't have a turret to retreat to. Come fight us. And that's exactly what we saw Mei Z doing. Good reaction there by Unsold Stuff Gaming. They'll be able to be safe as they do it, and their bot lane is already stronger. They have the BF sword already right now to just the Bilgewater Cutlass, as well as just the help of that Tahm Kench, going to be able to provide so much safety. And Legato isn't even at level 6 yet. He just hit level 6. So up until now, he's been kind of just hoping that Unsold Stuff has not brought anybody. And Neo coming in right here does get spotted out by a ward. He's not going to be too concerned about it with the support of so many members of his team. They are going to be able to start going for this. Glitter Lance misses. Neo's going to start channeling there on the Brambleback and does just smite it away and hand over the red buff to Heretti. And if we were in a bad spot already for Burning Core, we're even worse now. But here comes the Resonating Strike onto Remind. He finds the Petrifying Gaze onto Hollis, but he's just going to get popped right there as the Dragon's Rage comes out. Beautiful movement there by Mei Z and Hollis. But they're going to need to find a little bit more than just a kill here and there onto an incredibly hard scaling champion. They're going to start moving towards the bot lane. Opperman does not have a really good spot to retreat to right now. Without a whole lot of ward coverage, he is going to have to back off of his split push. But Heretti's not going to. They do have some idea of where the other team is, and they are going to be starting up this Earth Dragon. So USG is going to be happy to trade that for up on the turret up in the top lane, simply because there's not a good way for them to contest right now. Heretti and Enti on the opposite side of the map. Remind still coming back up. And now they have a great idea of where both Hollis and Mei Z are as they move around the map. Opperman is going to feel pretty safe in just a moment now that he has a little bit of ward coverage. But here comes a charge coming out of Osteror. He is going to land onto Opperman. He just does have the slicing maelstrom available, but there's 3 members here already, and that's going to be a quick kill onto him right there. And that was a beautiful gank. He was feeling safe. He still has a flash available. He thought for sure he was going to be alright with Neo on his way. They do manage to trade it back as Daisy is starting to look for it. Hollis does tag up Neo, getting him down to half health, saying, hey, don't interrupt my recall. I'm doing important things here. But for that one kill that they do find onto Opperman, they don't even get his flash. And now USG is going to be pushing towards this mid lane. They have 3 members, and there's no response other than Legato's Lulu here in the mid lane. And Remind is, even though Hollis is starting to build up some gold on himself, he's 30 CS behind, and he's not having the same kind of pressure around the map that USG is providing by simply having more members wherever it is that they're trying to do something. And now they're going to be starting to move towards this Rift Herald, which is a huge win more button in the current meta. You pick it up, you find a good team fight, you take 2-3 turrets and an inhibitor, and it's so dangerous for a Burning Core to really move around in this side of the map as USG is starting to move their ward line forward. They're going to be able to find much easier picks to devour. The Root Caller just coming out of Neo is going to be so scary for all of Burning Core. They need to pick up a couple more sweepers, but potentially, the items that will be able to give them control of their jungle. And right now, we only see the control wards being picked up by Mei Z and Hollis. That needs to be a group effort. You won't be able to do that just on your own. You're only able to put one of those pink wards down, which is something a lot of people might not be used to if you took a long break. The pink wards used to be able to just buy all of them, and the warding support, just picking up pink wards and not really buying a whole lot else, was a trope for a long time for a reason. But now we do see Unsold stuff picking up the Rift Herald. Major item spikes are starting to come out, already opting for the Static Shiv as his Zeal item in this game, rather as opposed to the Phantom Dancer or the Rapid Fire Cannon. But Opperman's in a dangerous spot right now. He doesn't have any support, and with Mei Z standing there in the bot lane, here comes the arrow. He is standing on a ward. Arrow's going to go a little bit wide. Osterori does not choose to commit the ultimate. Not choosing to commit the ultimate is potentially an interesting choice. That was a long-range arrow from Zeros, and I do like the attempt. Hollis trying to go aggressive onto Remind here, but getting the poison onto their distortion return spot. NT and Neo, this is what we've been wanting to see from the Japanese scene for a while. We don't see the jungler and support working together nearly as often here in this region as we might like to, and because of it, junglers have been getting caught a lot. But with both NT and Neo here in this top quadrant of the jungle, they're just providing so much extra pressure for Remind here. He's going to be so much safer when he just has teammates available, and with so little vision on the side of Burning Core, they're not safe to move around. They're not safe to try and pick up NT, even with the support that they have there, even with 4 of their members in the teleport onto Osterori. There's nowhere for them to go. And as they're just clearing out more and more and more vision, it just reminds me of the Lion King, right? Wherever the light touches is our kingdom, and it will all be yours. But what about over there? There's the darkness. You can't go in there. And right now, this is Unsold Stuff's kingdom. They are the undisputed kings of the jungle right here. We do see another red buff being picked up by Neo. That's, I believe, the 3rd one that he's taken away from Mei Z. And they're just fighting each other out right there. Not a whole lot for Hollis to do right now. He does not yet have the completed Hextech Gunblade. Well, there's already tons of completed items starting to come off for Unsold Stuff. They're building towards the Athene's Unholy Grail there on Neo, or I guess that could also be Mikhail's Crucible, but there's Static Shiv, the completed Sightstone item onto NT, Blade of the Ruin Kings. He's surely going to be able to back and get the Ruin's Hurricane in just a moment on Opperman. And so it's just, they're hitting all these item spikes before BC. They don't have a whole lot of time left in this game to really have the impact that they want. They need to start finding picks, and they need to start finding it soon before USG snowballs out of control. Because even though they're only about 5,000 gold ahead right now, that's so much larger than it would be on another team composition. BC has a team composition that wants to win before 30 minutes. And right now they're behind at 18. USG is going to outscale them into oblivion, and there's no way that BC should be able to really find a fight post 25, 30 minutes where they're going to be favored right now. Another arrow getting shot up by Zeros is going to try and find its way onto Opperman again. It's such a long range ultimate that it does not actually connect, and Opperman just sees it go by, and there's a major engage tool being blown right there by Unsold Stuff, and they are going to be using the Rift Herald to move in, and he's getting caught up by Hollis a little bit. Maisie is trying to find his way onto the team as well, but with the dragon spawning up in just a moment, USG is just going to move as an entire team and pick up the newly spawned Mountain Drake, and they're going to be happy to do that. It's going to be a very dangerous contest if Maisie chooses to come over at all, as he's still just sitting on the Warrior enchantment plus a Phage, not even building up the Black Cleaver yet, and Neo and Heretti are in such a strong position right now that they're going to be able to take this without a whole lot of response coming out from Burning Core. They're trying to get a little bit onto the other half of the map, but they've already taken the top turret. It's just so dangerous for Burning Core to move down to that bot lane turret, do anything. Opperman's in such a great position. I'm sure he has to be sitting on something like 2,000 gold at this point. He's just sitting on the dagger and the ruby crystal, going a little bit halvesies on the frozen mallet and the Ruinous Hurricane. But it's going to be all right. He's already about 30 CS ahead of Osterari, going to pick up an entire item in just a moment. Assuredly. Oh, he's going to be picking up the Jorum's Fist right now, just going for a little bit, exactly the halvesies we were talking about. The extra health, providing more safety from Osterari, and if one of those Enchanted Crystal Arrows ever lands, he'll be in a much better position to just start running away. And right now, he's not worried about the team fights, simply because BC is in no position to do that. They're a pick-focused composition. And with the Hextech Gunblade being finished up here onto Hollis, it is going to start becoming a lot more dangerous as he does start to split push and move around the map. Right now, though, Remind is able to keep him in check. 40 CS lead. Neo getting tagged up by the Baron. Just devoured away. Not going to take too much damage there. Burning Core's not even contesting the Baron. They're just using the Baron to try and protect their award. Sometimes the best teammate is the neutral objective, and that's exactly what they're showing right now. But where did this really go wrong for Burning Core? Let's look a little bit farther back at what exactly they were doing. They didn't really give a lot of attention up to Osterari. Osterari was sitting at a deficit against Opperman very early in the game. He was pushed in and was not able to find the CS, find experience. Neo's getting caught out by Hollis here. Is going to get caught up by the ethereal chains, but Legato does not provide nearly enough damage to do anything, and with Enti and Heretti on the backside, Neo's not actually in real danger. But I do have to scream about it. That's exactly what casting is. Hey, look, something's happening. Let's talk about it. But Osterari, super far behind, not really having that much effect in this game. He had a strong charge, picking up that kill on to Opperman, but without the help of Maisie, without the help of Hollis, we see how far pushed back he is, and without a whole lot of vision just in this eastern quadrant of the jungle period, he's not going to be in a good spot to really roam around nearly as much, because right now, with so many members of USG not visible on the map, they can assume they're backing because they can move into this northern quadrant once again. But it's not going to be something that they can really do anything about. By the time they figure out where all the members of USG are, they are going to be all back in the game. And right now the back timer is coming out from Burning Core. It does potentially present an opportunity here for Unsold Stuff. And that's exactly what we see them doing. And he's going to start the Baron up right now. There's no vision on it. They do use the Hawk Shot, but I don't know if they're going to peel off of it. They're going to be bringing so many people back in, and it's already down to a third health. Here comes a teleport out of Osterari. He does have the charge available to him. And it would be a 5v4 right now for Burning Core, as Opperman is still here in the bottom lane. But simply pulling that teleport out of Osterari seems to be all they're going to be getting off of. We still see them muttering or stuttering around in the top part of the jungle, Lots of vision goes down for Burning Core. A little bit of damage gets put down onto Heredia right now. But oh, he misses the distortion. That's a lot of damage getting hit by the ace, and the whole Remind is finding his way onto Zeros, who is forced to flash out. USG is so scary right now. They have a 7,000 gold lead just building up entirely off of these neutral objectives, a turret, and CS. Mazee's on the backside. Remind doesn't have his flash available, but it's not going to be a great spot for the rest of BC to really do anything about it, as Neo and Opman are trying to find this way here. Osteroid going to use that charge. The Enchanted Crystal does find its way onto Opman. He's going to be using the Redemption to try and keep himself alive, but he's been stunned up for so long. They find the first kill onto Remind, and it's such a split fight. Hollis goes down as well. Opman's trying to find things to auto-attack. Heredia is starting to put damage down onto Osterori. Any Devour he flashes forward, that is going to be a very dead Yordle in just one moment. They find his way onto it, goes over to Heredia, and this is just a complete wipe fight. Neo's just walking through the turret, not able to take anything in return. That is going to be a 3-for-1 and a turret, and they're going to be able to move forward even farther, and they're going to start putting damage onto this inhibitor turret. Enti is so tanky at this point in the game, just really able to move around, do whatever he wants. Neo, not even with a whole lot of tank stats available to him yet, is just going to be pushing forward, tanking turret shots, using Daisy to move around, and Maze not able to get in, and that is going to be the first inhibitor of the game, going down at 24.5 minutes. Unsold Stuff Gaming creates tons of pressure here on the bottom half. They're going to be moving towards the Baron after they back in just a moment, pick that objective up, and really start looking for the end of this game. But let's take another look on it right here. Osteroid does use the charge going down onto, ends up finding his way onto Remind, while Hollis, starts to beat down Cannon. But this side of the fight, once they've gotten down Remind, there's not a whole lot for them to do. The Dragon's Rage was already used there by Maze, and by the time they find the rest of the team here, there's nothing for Osterori to do. He's dismounted, he doesn't have his flash available, and as Enti flashes forward to devour him, he's just going to end up going down. But we do see the Ruinous Hurricane being built up here by Opman, a little bit more team fight stats available to him, and rather than the finishing of the Frozen Mallet. Remind is getting caught up a little bit by Hollis right now. And BC needs to find something. They're 10,000 gold down at 25 minutes. And USG just has complete control over the entire map right now. Opman's still down here in the bottom lane. He has the teleport available with the super minions being pushed in. I don't think anybody on BC really poses a threat. 1-2 and 1 Hollis on LeBlanc. 0-1 and 0 Zeros. 1-1 and 1 Osterori is probably the biggest threat. But unless he's willing to go in by himself to just try and crush down his Yordle brethren, there's not a whole lot. And we already see USG starting up this Baron here. They are spotted out by that control word. Teleport does come in from Hollis, and another arrow misses, and he's going to be caught up by the rest of the team in 5 members, but the gray skin is doing so much. Tons of damage. They are going to find Legato. Osteroid is in the middle of the entire team. He's going to go down next, but they have so much more damage. Maze tries to go in, tries to save the rest of his team, but he's just going to give up his life, and that's a 4-for-0 coming out. One more member of BC left. He runs away. Ace in the hole is going to tag him, but it's not going to be enough. He's going to walk out, but we see the teleport coming out from Opman. He's heading into the base already. They don't even need to kill him. They're going to start crushing down these Nexus turrets. Opman has the super minions with him. He has the Blade of the Rune King. He's got the Ruinous Hurricane, and we already see the victory cams coming out from the production team of the LJL. There's nothing Hollis can do. He's caught up here underneath his own inhibitor turret with members coming out. Legato's respawning. Hollis goes down. Opman, Heredia, and Enti are going to be here. They are going to find game 1 for USG in this series, and that's just a textbook clean victory coming out here for Unsold Stuff Gaming. There's nothing that BC could do. They found a little bit of early advantages and just slowly pushed their way into the Nexus of Burning Core. And beautiful, beautiful, solid gameplay coming out from Unsold Stuff, and exactly what we really expect. Remind is normally the one who pops off, but we didn't necessarily see the same kind of popping off in this game. Honestly, it was mostly just Opman's strong split push, just pushing in Osterori, and just missed arrow after missed arrow coming out of Zeros. One of the things we often talk about at the higher level is whether or not they're taking a high percentage play or a low percentage play. Now, all those arrows were low percentage plays, low risk, but also kind of a low reward. You would only end up picking a single target up, and they're not very likely to hit. But with the amount of the effort that they're putting in, I do like Burning Core. I like their chances potentially going into game 2. But right now, Unsold Stuff Gaming is going to start moving their way up the ladder one more time. This is Josh with Joshi Howard coming at you live from Seattle, Washington, again bringing you all the LJL action. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes for Game 2 of Unsold Stuff versus Burning Core. Welcome back, everyone. This is your host once again, Joshua Joshi Howard, coming at you live from Seattle, Washington, bringing you all the LJL action. We just saw the first game between Unsold Stuff Gaming and Burning Core, and spoiler alert, USG did take the first one. We're going to be going into Game 2 of BC and USG in just a moment. We have seen a couple adaptations coming out from BC, which have, they're showing signs of life still. They did see Maisie and Osteroi switch positions here. Maisie's now in the jungle, and Osteroi is here up in the top lane. It's an interesting transition, and well, they did play it up. They're playing against USG today. It's not an easy team to play against. It's one of the top 3 teams. Their currently only loss has been to DetonatioN FocusMe, and they still took them to a full 3 games. And really, the last one could have gone either way. It was a very close one, but regardless, Burning Core is doing, they're doing all right. We did finally get to see Hollis's LeBlanc, and it did all right, but it was almost a bait. We've seen a couple good baits in terms of the drafting phase here in Japan, which we haven't really seen nearly as much internationally. And Japanese players aren't necessarily known for having super large champion pools, and whenever they see something OP or they see something that is a signature champion for them, they do tend to pick it up. And if your signature champion is something like Brock's Orianna, that's great. That's a super safe champion. You can play that into almost any matchup. But if the signature champion is something like that LeBlanc, or even like potentially a Zed if they were to leave it open, there are ways to counter that champion, and it's very dangerous to see them going around. Hollis does need to build up a larger champion pool. He's played a lot of characters, but he hasn't found success on any of them. The closest thing we found to success on him was when he was playing Cassiopeia against 7th Heaven, where they just had this bizarre come from behind victory. But we are going to be getting back into Champion Select. First ban is going to be that Zyra away from Enti. And Enti's been playing a lot of Zyra this season. Prior to this series, he had 5 of his 6 games on Zyra, and now it's 5 of his 7 as he ended up playing Tom Kench last game. But the Zed ban coming out once again. Fiora getting banned out against Oppamen. And it would be interesting to see what USG does choose to do. Do they leave the LeBlanc up again here? We already just saw BC's Hollis, and we saw Remind just crush the lane and just crush the rest of the game. We do see the Zac ban coming out. Even if you're a newer champion to the jungle, or a new player to the jungle, Zac is just so strong, able to do pretty much whatever he wants. But the Cannon ban, a couple of bans being targeted up here towards Oppamen. They know how difficult it would be to ban out some of these other players, and again, 2 bans being targeted at Maisie here, and Burning Core are going to opt to pick up a very safe, very strong first pick in that Caitlyn. Even though she does have the Ruinous Hurricane removed essentially from the ability to be built on Caitlyn, it's still a very strong champion. We've seen adaptations so quickly moving over to things like the Static Shiv, the Phantom Dancer, and the Rapid Fire Cannon, which were already good items on Caitlyn. But in response, Unsold Stuff is going to be picking a much stronger early game this time, opting for the Syndra and the Lee Sin, taking away from Mei Z. So we'll have to see what it is he can play other than that. We do see 2 bans already targeted at him, and the champion he played last game taken away already. I wouldn't be surprised to see something. Oh, we are going to see an Orianna locked in for Hollis really early in the game. I'm not sure how I feel about this draft right now. We don't see Gragas. We don't see Galio. We do see Orianna being picked up by Hollis. Not something that he's played. He played it all right last time he played it. He was playing up against Rampage, and he tried super, super hard to make plays around the map, but he just wasn't able to find them, unfortunately. And now we're going to see Mei Z going to be picking up that Rengar. Now, the only other player in Japan we've seen play Rengar thus far has been Savage. And Savage really, really likes that character. It's kind of like, the player Pride Stalker in Europe. I believe he's playing for Misfits right now. Really, really likes that champion. And it's kind of where the name comes from. But right now, we haven't seen Maisie come off of it. It's a strong combination between Orianna and Rengar. The Yarn Ball, you put it on top of the Kitty Cat. Kitty Cat jumps in, tosses it around, and then tosses the rest of the team around. But now that both teams have picked up a mid laner, a jungler, and an ADC, we're going to see the support spot really get pinched as the Braum, Thresh, and Tom Kench are taken away. Really going to start pushing people onto characters like that Lulu, like the Karma that we've been seeing a lot. It's kind of a little bit of a fallback. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw another one of those banned out. It is the Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank is interesting. I think it's really cool that he's coming back into the meta simply because the Dorn shield is stronger, the Relic shield is a little bit stronger. He's able to move around and you just find a single pick. He doesn't necessarily do a whole lot, but Enti is going to be hovering towards this Rakan. And that's a really strong combo, the Zaya and the Rakan. We've seen how effective it can be. Rakan, I believe there was a big breakdown by, I think it was Zyrene, showing how Rakan dashes forward 1,300 units and just getting a lockdown that way. But it is going to be responded by the by the Lulu, and with the Galio potentially last pick, they do need a good way to go in, and I do really like the Jarvan right here for Akashi actually playing here in the top lane. Man, BC is just kind of throwing everything at the game right now and just seeing what sticks. Akashi was the ADC for Burning Core throughout the Challenger split, but unfortunately he struggled really hard for most of the split, even on an incredibly dominant team. And now they're going to throw him up in the top lane, playing this Jarvan. They have a really good team composition overall. They have Zeros on a very strong ADC, a very strong set of characters, but I am worried about their ability to actually push through and have the impact that they want. Meanwhile, we've seen pretty much all these characters being played by USG before. We have not seen Rakan in Japan yet. I believe this is his first time that they've played him, but we have seen Kled come out of Opperman before up against Rascal Jester. It actually did lose, but I believe that was largely on Neo during that game. Lee Sin, everybody's played Lee Sin. Syndra, not a great. That was also the game that they played it up against. Man, I fucking don't swear, Josh. I freaking love watching USG because they're so aware of the camera, and they always just pander a little bit to the fans. But we're going back into the Twitter vote. Hashtag BC win for Burning Core. Hashtag USG win for Unsold Stuff Gaming. As we're going to be loading into the Rift. They both have good compositions. Everybody's comfortable on what they're doing. And this is probably going to be the last patch of Zaya we're going to see in quite a while, as she does get changed significantly in 7-12. But right now, Zaya and Rakan, Heredian Enti, such a beautiful pairing. And I just have to say, it might be my OTP for the game. But we're going to be loading in just a moment. Opperman, Neo, Remind, Heredian Enti really looking to just push forward, take game 2, and not even have the risk of potentially losing to Burning Core right here. Burning Core is still looking for their second game win of the split, having only taken one off of 7th Heaven thus far. But we're going to be loading into the game right now. Nothing particularly surprising coming out from any of our members. Corrupting Potion going to be built on by Akashi on this Jarvan in the top lane. A lot of players would have opted for the Doran Shield, but this Corrupting Potion potentially gives them a lot more mana sustain and potentially a much stronger trading potential with that magic damage being put out by the Corrupting Potion on auto attacks as well. But Unsold Stuff is just going to be backing off, playing much more defensively. As we do see Dorn's items being built up by 3 of them. And nothing particularly exciting, as Neil just kind of spreading. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. It's just such a weird animation. I know at least one of my friends really picks his champions by how good their spamming animations are, and that's why part of why he's such a huge Vel'Koz player is he just goes and sits there and flails his tentacles about in mid lane up until the game actually really starts as the minions come in. But it's just going to start here. Both junglers are going to be starting up at the Raptors. Akashi is going to be looking for something cheeky right here, trying to get maybe take 1 or 2 away as Heredian and Enti dance together. Does get the ward down, does spot out Neo, potentially going to hurt his ability to move around nearly as quickly. And by starting with a W, he doesn't get a lot of help from his laners. He's taking a lot of damage here at the beginning of the game. He'll be fine. It is Lee Sin. He still clears pretty quickly and pretty safely. But right now, taking a little bit more damage than he would have wanted to off of that camp. Akashi and Opperman find themselves in the top lane at about the same time. Grasp of the Undying coming out for Akashi. A little bit interesting choice. We do sometimes see the Fervor come out as well, simply because of how strong his auto attacks are and how much you do auto attack in that lane. But lots of Thunderlords coming out for everybody. It's not the dominating spell it used to be, but look at this. Oppaman and Akashi are starting to fight quite a bit right now. KDA, not surprising here. Remind having a much stronger KDA than Hollis in that last game, but the entire team had a much stronger KDA overall during that game, not really dying a whole lot. I think Remind might have actually died the most in the game, but we do see Neo get invaded a little bit by Legato. Legato's not going to be able to find that blue buff there, but it does put a little bit of threat. They show that they know where he is. And it's a good little roam by Legato, and no punish coming out from USG's bottom lane right now. As we do see Unsold stuff a little bit down right now. They're going to start building up a freeze a little bit, or at least attempt to, and potentially deny from Caitlyn, but it's so hard to deny from a Caitlyn Lulu lane. They have so many ways to move around, so much range on both of those characters. But Akashi's doing rather well for himself right now up against Oppaman, dismounting Oppaman with that corrupting potion, and is starting to build up a CS lead. And Oppaman's going to be in a rough spot until he is able to remount. But with with Neo up there, he should be in a good spot. Akashi is going to be moving into the jungle, potentially finding a ward. Yeah, they're doing a great job this game of keeping tabs on exactly where Neo is at all times. It's going to give them a good advantage. MeiZ is able to move around with relative impunity, as he knows exactly where the opposing jungler is. With the back coming out of Neo, MeiZ does potentially have a good opportunity here to move into the top lane and help out his ADC turned top laner. But I do respect the movements around BC. They have struggled so far this season. They have not been able to find success, and none of their games have really been close either. They've pretty much lost all of them, and their one win that they had, they were losing for a long time until some really bizarre, scrappy fights put them in a fantastic position. But they just need to find something that works. I think the style that they're trying to play is definitely hurting them, but there's a lot of different things that could be said. They're struggling in their lanes, they're struggling to move around in the rest of the map, and while they did 3-0 Scars in the promotion tournament, Scars was also the bottom team in LJL by a decent amount, as we do see Neo coming out, getting a little bit of vision onto where MeiZ is, providing a lot of safety right now for his bot lane, simply knowing what's going on in that bottom lane. And Akashi should be able to get most of this pretty cleanly with that Martial Cadence passive, getting so much extra damage on his auto attacks. We do see they're going basically even right now, and that's definitely a good thing for Akashi, as he is playing against one of the top laners in the league. MeiZ is going to be a little bit low here. That's going to offer Neo a little bit more freedom to move around here in the bot lane, as he is looking for a gank onto Zeros and Legato. Here we go, the grand entrance coming out of NT. Not going to find a whole lot. They do commit the exhaust right there, trading it for Legato's flash, and that's something that they're going to be more than happy to do. Good little pause by there, actually, by NT. I really liked that. He knew there was a trap in there. Didn't quite remember where it was. Just stopped on the edge of the bush so that he doesn't get caught on it here. With the back coming out from Oppa, he is going to be able to freeze up very heavily here. If he does choose to, with that huge wave coming in, Akashi needs to make sure it does hit the turret, and it is doing that right now. So he'll be fine. Oppa's going to be able to get most of the CS pretty cleanly, as we do see him do right now. And only a small lead. And by saving his teleport right here, Akashi does potentially put himself in a great spot going forward, as they do start to see MeiZ is down here in the bottom lane, is spotted out by that ward. Don't expect them to be able to get anything here. He just jumps forward, hits the bola onto NT, but the dash to Heredi is going to give him a lot more safety. He was taking a lot of damage as Zeros just punishes him with auto attacks and the Piltover Peacemaker. But with his vision down there in the bot lane, Neo's going to be able to make moves on the other side of the map. Finds that there's no wolves to take, finds that there's no blue buff, and is just going to settle for this Gromp, knowing that right now MeiZ is currently in his bottom side jungle. MeiZ is going to look for a repeat gank here. And with all the flashes and summoners, except for that exhaust still available to Unsold stuff, they're going to be in a pretty good spot right now. They shouldn't be too worried about the movement of Maisie yet until he hits that level 6. Neo picks up some wolves for his troubles as well, getting a little bit more vision. And ultimately, this game is starting to reach a tipping point in the next couple of minutes right now, as everybody's just fighting back and forth across this top lane, particularly. So much damage being put down onto Akashi and Oppaman. But Neo is here. He does have his ultimate available. The charge being committed down onto Akashi, going so far underneath the turret. Oppaman's going to be taking this turret right now. Is dismounted, but it puts him on the other side of the wall. And with that, they have no doubt as to the position of where Neo is. Oppaman would never do that without the support of his jungler. And right now, with the teleport still available for Akashi, we do see him teleporting to the bot lane. They are going to pick up this blue buff. And they are going to be going down for the dive here in the bottom lane. We do see already using that Feather Storm to try and get away from Maisie, but he's taking so much damage. Akashi's going to go in, does pick it up. First blood going over to Zeros, and NT's got nowhere to run to. That's going to be a double kill going over for Burning Core. And that's fantastic for this team. We haven't seen them make these kind of early moves in a long time. They're going to be able to take that. Looks like they'll be able to take first turret racing against the mid lane here, but they should have the 5 members there, no problem. Giving most of the gold over down to the solo laners and Maisie in the jungle. They might potentially lose 2 turrets here for it, but Akashi seems to be bringing out a shot calling element to Burning Core that we haven't seen from them in a long time. And I wonder if we were being too harsh on him previously. We did not see him do particularly well as a solo laner. But if he provides that much communication for the team, let's take another look at it. Heretti's in an awkward spot. Here comes Maisie with the ultimate, and he does use his own ultimate to, I believe, is dodging Ace in the hole, but also to stop most of the damage from Maisie. Maisie's basically out of it, but it doesn't matter. Here comes the rest of the team. Does find some easy kills onto the bot lane. Maisie does end up using his flash, but with the Cloud Dragon up, Japan might not choose to take it, despite how strong it would be on that Jarvan, on that Rengar. And right now, with Remind super far forward without a whole lot of support, he does need to be a little bit careful of the ganks coming out from Maisie. He has his flash. They do have that turret down. But the CS difference right now is giving a gold lead to Unsold Stuff Gaming regardless. They do have a lead in the top lane. They have a large lead in the mid lane. And even though there's some good gold going down onto Zeros, as he is going to start moving towards the Infinity Edge first, not going to be picking up a Zeal item immediately like we often see. USG is still in a good spot for this game. But with those 2 kills, Burning Core is going to feel much more confident as they start to move around. They know where the gold is on their teams. They have it, even though the gold is roughly even, they have it concentrated on different players, which is good. You don't necessarily need to be giving as much gold from this global gold to your supports. Ooh, good chase here by Oppaman. The jousting, the first one, the second one. He's going to find his way on Akashi. He doesn't have his flash. The charge coming out, and that's a free solo kill coming out from Oppaman's Kled, and that's going to be huge. There's no flash. He still has his Cataclysm. He still has a lot, and right now, Neo's going to reward the team with his Cloud Dragon. They do have a good idea that Maisie is not on the top side of the map, simply because he doesn't choose to go pick up all the farm that Oppaman is pushing into this turret. Zeros is going to be doing that instead, but they pick up the Cloud Dragon, and right now they are going to start putting a lot more pressure down here on the bottom side of the map. Oppaman is going to almost finish off this turret, and just a little bit more pressure from the rest of the team, he'll be in a great spot to crush that down as well. Another Cloud Dragon is going to be the next spawn coming out here for this game as well. With Neo, NT, and Heretti starting to push down onto his bot lane turret, Akashi can come nowhere near. It is going to be the second turret of the game going over to Unsold Stuff Gaming, as they do have a good chance to go for the next top lane turret as well, as it's so low, and that's a lot of gold just sitting on the map waiting for Unsold Stuff to come around. Ooh, not going to stop that back. Neo just barely out of range. But Oppaman is going to start struggling a little bit against the 2v1 here coming out from Zerost and Legato. still have all of their summoners available and their ultimates, and with the long range, there's not a whole lot the Optimum can do to clear this out without a whole lot of help. Mei does get spotted by a ward here in the top side of the jungle, with Hollis moving around a little bit. There's a good spot for BC to potentially even up the gold. Stun onto Hollis. Maisy's coming out. He sees that the Scatter the Weak has already been used, but with the pink ward there, keeping Remind safe and sound. Not a whole lot that they can really do with that. And that was actually smart. I do like that he recognized that he was already spotted out, was not in a position to jump onto Remind there, and just going to be backing out safely. NT is getting spotted out here by Hollis. He has a Shockwave available. A teleport comes out from Optimum. Shockwave finds his way into 2. The heal comes out as well. Mei Z is already low. He's going to go down in just a moment. Surely, Optimum picks up another one. Another Resonating Strike comes out from Neo. They're going to find their way onto one more member. They do get one. They get 2. Opperman still going, he's taking up the turret. Hollis has no mana available to him. Heredi is starting to beat up Zeros, but Akashi is finally here, but it's too late. NT finds his way onto the backline, but turns out he's the backline getting found out. It's not a good spot for him, but when all is said and done, a 3-for-1 coming out of Unsold Stuff Gaming as they pick up another outer turret, and it looks like they're going to be moving towards the Rift Herald as well, just giving them all of the objectives to play with. Oh, looks like I lied, and instead just moved, hey, I want to farm mid lane, guys. We don't need that objective, but it's going to be all right. They find themselves with a 3,000 gold lead as they move around. Remind picks up some gold. We'll take another look at it. Hollis comes out here, but he's in a little bit of an awkward position as Akashi teleports from super far away, gets a shockwave onto 2, but Mei Z's already forced out of the fight, and with Optimum just now coming in, finding his way. He's in a good spot. He does a lot of damage and is so tanky right now. And we see Enti heading down in an awkward position. I'm curious to see how he actually gets caught here by Akashi. As he starts to move around, tries to run away, but without his flash, without the grand entrance really available, just caught up by the Cataclysm and ends up trading his life back. But Burning Core is in a good spot. Burning Core is not in the worst spot. They do have the Infinity Edge being finished up by Zeros here. Without the attack speed to back it up, it's not going to be doing the same amount of damage we might have wanted otherwise. But USG does have a 4,000, or still only about a 3,000 gold lead right now as they start to move around. Heredi still needs to finish up that Essence Reaver, as he is about 200 gold behind right now against Zeros. And with so much gold currently in his pocket, he's not going to be doing nearly as much damage until he does finish that item. But it's nothing particularly exciting. We do end up picking up this Rift Herald here. Potentially huge gold swing opportunity for Unsold Stuff Gaming in the next couple of minutes. If they do find another team fight like that, it'll reward them with more than just a single turret. They should be able to push for an inhibitor if they do end up using it. But right now, they're just they're happy to just kind of move around a little bit slower, potentially just get a lot more vision down here in the western quadrant of the jungle, get a good idea of where Mei Z is. And Optimum is probably going to go back to split pushing here against Akashi, who actually has a CS lead, which is not something we're used to seeing by just about anyone. Maybe Akashi in the top lane is what Burning Core really needs to really come out ahead in this game and in the rest of the LJL. Heredi and NT getting the beautiful back coming down. Gonna save about 4 seconds right there on the back by having one of them back first and then the other member just joining them. But we do start to see item spikes for both teams come out. The top laners are sitting on currently identical items, actually. The only difference being the starting items that they did pick up the Dorn Shield and the refillable potion as opposed to the corrupting potion. Junglers sitting on very similar spots. The mid laner is where we're seeing the biggest difference right now, as Optimum does get chased on. The Cataclysm is coming down. Here comes Mei Z, going to use his ultimate to get onto Optimum as well. Dismounts. He does not have his flash veil, and this should be an easy kill as they go over. Not going to be able to find the remount, and that kill is going to go over to Akashi. But in exchange, the Rift Herald is getting spawned up down here in the bottom lane, is going to just charge into this top turret, taking easily a third of its health. Remind and Neo start to crush down this second turret. There's not a lot for the rest of Burning Core to do. Teleport is not yet available for Akashi, And they do find that turret in exchange for Optiman's life, and with the next Cloud Drake coming up in just a couple moments, Unsold Stuff is going to get a back cycle, and Neo gets spotted out a little bit. There's no Cataclysm. Akashi's not going to be going forward. But they're going to get a back cycle in. Essence Reaver is completed up for her ready. They're in a good spot to really fight for this once again, as long as they do it before the Cataclysm and the Rengar ultimate does come back up. But just want to spend their gold a little bit right now. They're sitting on plenty of it. And here comes Legato and Mei-Z. Japanese Lulu has an adorable voice, and he's looking for an engage right now. Optiman has his teleport available and his ultimate. He should be able to find his way onto them if he chooses to, and with this max range, he'll get a large shield coming out. Hollis is sitting in the Dragon Pit, and he's just separated from his team right now. Not potentially the greatest thing. Neo does tag up the Dragon. We see Optiman waiting, just looking for an opportunity to come in. He has had a chance to pick up that Black Cleaver. And Burning Core is just going to back out, giving Unsold Stuff Gaming the second Cloud Dragon of the game. And that's a scary position to be in with how quickly Neo and Othman are going to be moving around the map. And here comes a charge coming out. They find their way onto Mei-Z. The Wild Growth comes out. Bear Trap on a rope. Not going to end its way in, but the Grand Entrance mixed with the Quickening is going to go in. Mei-Z is getting tagged up, goes super low, but the Cataclysm comes out. Neo does not find his way onto Mei-Z. Gets shockwaved instead. Remind is looking for Zeros. Does not manage to pick it up as well. Outplaying not hard enough, but Akashi gets pulled back. And he gets out as well. They're getting out everywhere around the map. But Hollis doesn't really have anywhere to run. But Unsold Stuff Gaming leaves so many members with blinking red health bars. Hollis is going to be the only one to end up going down. And he still has a chance to pick something back up for himself. And he's just looking for a Hollis a little bit, trying to find their way. The stun does not land onto him. He's still looking for the execute, trying to find a way to outplay Remind, but it's not going to be able to do so. Is he? Okay, they finally do pick it up. Messy fight across the map, and we just saw how low all of the members of Burning Core were at the end of that fight. Just not able to find the correct focus there by USG, but they'll take it overall. They do find that kill onto Hollis. They will find a little bit of gold. And if they keep doing that, that was just an unfortunate fight. We saw just, a single more auto attack from anybody would have killed Mei-Z. A single extra auto attack from anybody would have killed Zeros as well. They didn't kill Akashi either. It's just so unfortunate just around the map. But they're going to be finding a lot more damage as they go back, pick up a bunch more items. Titanic Hydra going to be built up here by both the top laners. And this is... we talked about a Meta Golem before with the Iceborne Gauntlet and the Sunfire just kind of being built on anybody. We're kind of seeing a similar thing right now with the Titanic Hydra and the Black Cleaver. Jarvan builds it, Kled builds it, pretty much all of your 80 top laners build it. There's not just one Meta Golem, there's like 3 of them right now. The other one being the Yordle build. They're Blade of the Ruin King, Ruin's Hurricane, and Frozen Mallet. It's giving you so much dueling and split pushing potential, but right now, Neo, that was very aggressive. Goes in, the Cataclysm finds his way onto Neo and Enti. Neo doesn't have anywhere to run as he just gets collapsed by the entire team. Teleport is wisely canceled there by Opperman, but he waits till the very last moment. Reminds on the opposite side of the map, and Burning Core moving around, making these moves. Akashi is really starting to show how crucial he was to the success of Burning Core, even if it wasn't through his mechanical play. But Opperman is finding his way around, trying to find another one onto this mid lane. He just needs to find a good charge into the rest of the team. He does not find a good charge. They are going to find another turret for themselves here in the mid lane. And with Neo back alive, they want to be able to find their way around. They have these double cloud tricks. The charge coming out is going to find its way onto Akashi, doing so much damage, but the team isn't able to find anything else. No stuns except onto Rengar. They're not going to be able to do anything further with that. Just going to be pushing it around a little bit, trying to throw their weight. But they're not heavy enough right now. Anti is getting caught out. Is going to have to use his quickening to get out of that team fight. But USG is going to be starting up this Baron, and without good vision coming out, Burning Core is going to have to go in blind. They don't have the Cataclysm yet. They still have the Shockwave. They go in a 3-man knockup. They are going to knock Kakashi back into the rest of the team as Mei-Z finds the way. The Wild Growth is going to find everyone, but the Blade Caller is going to find his way. Does pick up Mei-Z, and Akashi again barely makes his way out of the fight, blinking red. And that's exactly what we saw happen last time as well. That is not good for Unsold Stuff Gaming. They need to be able to trade evenly in these fights. They're currently ahead in gold, but I don't know if they realize they are. We'll take another look one more time. Enti is pretty far out, and as Akashi comes in, we do see Neo jump forward and kick him back into the rest of the team one more time, but that's not a good spot for the tank to be. He's going to get wild growth. Maisie jumps in, gets a knockup onto almost everyone with the help of Legato, and the Shockwave catches on a couple more people. It's just dangerous spot all around. And even though USG is making these smart moves for the most part, their team fighting this game is just lacking. They are slowly starting to build up towards a lot more items. We are going to start seeing a lot more outplay potential coming out from this Syndra. But Heredi's not finding any kills, not finding any assists, as he's currently 1-1-0, only picking up the kill onto Mei Z during that last fight, whereas really could have gone to anybody, and he's just starting to lag behind in gold as compared to Zeros, who's now sitting on the Static Shiv and the Infinity Edge, going to be doing a lot more damage than Heredi throughout these longer team fights. Opman and Akashi still fighting down here all over. But they're such cooldown-based champions. It's going to be a very interesting thing to see what does come out ahead. But I really, really can't speak enough as to how impressed I am with the difference in Burning Core as their macro movements by simply subbing in Akashi one more time. Burning Core right now, they are starting to build up a lot more vision, but they did not catch out that ward on the outside of the pit here by the Baron. And with, they aren't worried. USG is not worried that BC is actually doing it. We see another ultimate being used by Maisie, just trying to find his way onto anybody right now. Does see Enti, does see Neo, and Neo is pretty squishy right now, not able to do a whole lot. Charge is coming out, is going to try and find his way onto Hollis. Quickening plus the Grand Entrance is going to find his way onto the Orianna. Neo is on his to Maisie as well, and Opman's doing so much damage. Is taking them forever to dismount him. He does finally go down, but they are just going to trade a lot of health on their top turrets and the flashes, as USG just slowly backs out. The ace in the hole does not find its way onto Kled, and they're going to be able to back out. Zeros goes over the wall, gets a lot of damage onto USG as well, and now they have a good positioning on the map. They don't yet see Opman. He does manage to back. He will have his teleport available to come back as well in just a moment, but USG is not finding any gold leads. They're able to push their advantage at all. They're trying to take these fights with Kled's charge, and it's doing all right. They are finding fights, but they're not finding the damage to follow up the initiation. And right now, this is the thing that's really setting USG apart from Burning Core, is just being able to move around and just find little bits of damage onto turrets over and over again. And eventually that does add up, and after the third attempt of just getting a little bit of damage here, they finally do take the second mid turret. Opman's going to go back to the bot lane as the third Cloud Dragon of the game is available right now. Opman and Neo might pick that up on their own, but Mei Z running around on this Rengar, still trying to find a pick onto anybody. It's going to be difficult for him. The only real people he can jump onto are going to be those frontline tanks, but they're so mobile. As Opman starts hitting this turret, BC does find its way onto this Baron here. Hollis does not have a whole lot of mana. He doesn't even have enough for Shockwave right now. Akashi goes over the wall, smited away by Neo. Opman finds his way onto the back line. Zeros and Legato don't have anywhere to run, and already does finally start to find more. Opman finds his way onto Zeros. That's a 4 for 0, with Mei Z being the only person to be able to get out of that alive, and a devastating team fight coming out from Unsold Stuff Gaming. He's still trying to find his way onto Mei Z, but right now USG are going to be pushing up the mid lane. They have the Baron, they have all of their members alive, and Enti just needs to stop the back a little bit, and this is definitely going to be at least one inhibitor, potentially even two, as Mei Z still isn't able to find his way back into the base. I don't think they'll be able to go for broke. They're a bit too low, and the respawn timers are too short, but they're definitely going to find one, as Enti's just harassing Rengar around the sides. That's the first inhibitor going down. Still have a couple seconds on Zeros and Akashi to come up. They're going to find the second one. Enti's probably going to die for those inhibitors, but hey, you picked up a Baron, you picked up 2 inhibitors, and you blew this game wide open, as they're now sitting on an 8,000 gold lead off of that single team fight. We're going to get a replay of that in just a moment, but USG is in such a fantastic spot to close out this game, and wow, I can't... It's surprising me that BC opted to take that 50-50. Hollis didn't have any mana, as we'll see once again. Remind goes in, stuns up nobody, as Enti and Heretti move around. Neo finds his way. He does get the 50-50. Smite takes it away from Mei-Z, and there's not a whole lot for Hollis to do. He doesn't have any mana, just trying to auto-attack his way onto the rest of the team. Remind comes around, gets hit by the solo shockwave, but it doesn't matter when the rest of the team is already routed. Burning Core needs to find a fight, and they need to find it soon before their minions just take away their base. With 2 inhibitors down at the same time, 27 minutes, a little bit early in the game. Guardian Angel already onto Opman. He's going to be an incredibly difficult Yordle to kill. And with the USG moving around as 4 here in the bot lane, it's going to be very dangerous. The BC team does not have the greatest wave clear in the world. Orion is okay at it. They get a little bit more from the Static Shiv and the Glitter Lance coming out from Lulu, but it's not going to be enough, as they do lose the first outer turret, or the last outer turret, and Optimus sitting around here on the side looking for another charge. But they just need to slowly push in. Optimus finds a joust onto Zeros, going to use the bear chop in a rope, and is going to tag him up. The quickening plus the grand entrance is going to find its way onto Zeros, and all of the members of BC just instantly fall to the ground as USG just decisively move their way in and take game 2, winning the series 2-0 over Burning Core. But man, that was not the cleanest game that you expected from these guys. That was a much stronger Burning Core than we had any right to see throughout the entire season thus far. And Akashi really making a much stronger presence in this game than we've seen from either Mei-Z or Osterore coming out so far. And it'll be interesting to see what the coaches on that side will choose to do. But USG, just a couple of good fights, a couple of bad fights. This is a difficult one. It's difficult to figure out who the player of the match one is this time. I'm probably going to have to go with Opman, simply because of how much pressure he was putting around the map, on that cannon, on that Kled, trying to find engages every single time. Some were more successful than others, but the damage just wasn't coming out, and that's not necessarily the initiator's fault. He did a good job finding team fights. He did a good job with teleporting around. He really had almost no unnecessary deaths. The only one was when he didn't expect Mei-Z to come find him in the bot lane during the split push. And Opman is definitely going to be our player of the match today, but tweet at LJL who you think your player of the match is. It's going to be interesting. USG does a great job, and Heretti and Remind slowly did find their way and end up winning that game. Enti running Mei-Z around for a long time. And here again, I love the different handshake styles coming out of all these players. The little head bobs coming out of some of them. The two-handed technique coming out from Enti. Player of the match, whoever called to go for Baron. Hey, this isn't Dignitas. I think the Baron call was okay. It just turned out really badly for them. They just got caught out. But it's alright. We're going to see a couple more replays in just a moment. But USG, again, just showing the calm collection that you really need to see from these top-level teams in Japan, as they're just able to slowly push in, take advantages that they had built up already, and just really just move around, take decisive fights. When they did find, they had so many awkward fights where they couldn't finalize any kills, but then when they did find ones, where they finally found it, and here's that Baron once again has started up. This fight goes from being relatively even, they're pretty even in gold, and then out of nowhere, there's no communication on BC. Akashi goes over the wall, tries to fight Remind, but he's not able to really do anything, ends up going down, and just so incredibly split. There's not a whole lot that they can do anywhere. Every member just gets jumped on by 2 or 3 members of Unsold Stuff Gaming, and Burning Core is just entirely separate, nothing that they can do. But we do, I just have to, I'm so impressed with how much better Burning Core looked simply by subbing in Akashi. And it just really goes to show that there's not necessarily, being a mechanical god will help. We do have some of those. We have those on every team at this level. But the real thing you need to be looking at is how they move around as a team. Because you just kind of assume that those players will be able to have the effect that they need to in team fights when they find out picks, but if they don't know where the picks should be going, if they don't know where to find the vision, it doesn't matter. And Akashi seems to be making a case that that's part of why they did so well previously. Moving him to the top lane, as opposed to putting him in a carry position where he was the ADC for the Challenger Series, Zeros is undoubtedly a stronger individual ADC, but they actually looked like a team with Akashi. And I think I expect to see a lot more of him coming into the rest of the LJL. On the other hand, we got to talk about the winners a little bit more. They looked incredibly solid in Game 1. Remind completely bullying Hollis around. Heredia and Enti just outperforming Zeros and Legato in the bot lane as well. And by the time that team fight started up, they were so far ahead. They got a couple of good picks, got a couple of good objectives. And by the time they really got anything or rolling, there is nothing left for anybody to do. But once again, this is Joshua Joshi Howard coming at you live from Seattle. We're going to be back in just a couple of minutes with the second set of today. We are going to be taking a look at DetonatioN FocusMe taking on Rascal Jester, another top 3 team taking on the bottom 3 teams. DetonatioN FocusMe looking to keep pace with Rampage at the top, looking for that 3-0 record, and Rascal Jester looking for they're looking for more. They've had a good set up against Rampage. They took a game off of Unsold Stuff Gaming, so they're showing that they can start to hang a little bit with these top-level teams. But they've had a tough split so far. They've played against, again, Unsold Stuff. They've played against Rampage, and in their third week, they're going to be playing against the last of the top 3 teams, DetonatioN FocusMe. The rest of the split should look a little bit smoother, and if they can take a game, if they can do well against DetonatioN FocusMe here, they're setting themselves up for a lot of success going into the rest of the split. But once again, we'll see you in a couple minutes. Don't go anywhere. And yeah, that was a bad outro, but we do what we can. See you soon.
プレイヤーですが、勝利したアンソルドスタッフゲーミングリーダーでアパメン選手のインタビューの準備整ったということですので、インタビュアーの勝レオンさんお願いいたします。はい、それでは見事勝利したアンソルドスタッフゲーミングからアパメン選手のインタビューを行っていきたいと思います。さあ、まずはアパメンさん、今日も勝利しました。今そのお気持ち聞かせてもらえますか？
今日はちょっと体調悪くてちょっと不安だったんですけど、なんとか勝ててよかったです。
そこはこうチームにはちゃんと話して、今日俺はこのぐらいだからこう支えてほしいとか、そういう話もそういう時したりはするんですか？
しました。今日ちょっとコンディション悪いからみたいな一応言いました。
そういう時に一番支えてくれるのは誰とかってあったりしますか？
みんな全員ですね。はい。
そんな中で勝利しました。ただゲーム2結構苦戦しているのかなというような印象もあったんですけれど、チーム内としてはどういう印象だったんですかね？
ちょっと苦戦してるみたいな形でしたけど、僕のミスから多分長くなったんでって感じでした。
そのミスっていうのは
ボットでレンガーに捕まったところですね。あれ多分逃げれたんですけど、ちょっと反応が遅れて、はい。
その中で今日のゲームなんですけれども、ドラフトが少しラカンというピックが出てきて面白いなと思ったんです。今日はどうしてそのザヤラカンというボットレーンを USG は起用したのか教えてもらってもいいですか？
なんかやっときたいみたいな練習してたんで、一回試合で使ってみたいっていう形ですね。はい。
それはやっぱりNT さんがやりたいっていうことだったんですが、結構ドラフトにチラチラ見せてるなって印象はあったんですけど。
実際そうですね。ブリッツもやりたかったらしいんですけど、バンされてみたいな。はい。
あとですね、アンソルドスタッフゲーミングといえば、カメラ意識が高いのかなというところで、アパメンさんとアパメン選手とエンジ選手がよくやるんですけど、ハリス選手とエンジ選手がよくやるんですけど、アパメンさんは何かやってくれたりはないんですかねっていうのはちょっと気になったんですけど。
じゃあ考えておきます。
ありがとうございます。無茶ぶりして申し訳ないです。それでは最後にですね、ファンの皆さんに向かってコメントをよろしくお願いします。
そうですね。 今季は優勝できるように頑張ります。応援よろしくお願いします。
ありがとうございました。見事勝利したアンソールドスタッフゲーミングからアパメン選手のインタビューでした。それでは実況席にお返しいたします。
インタビュアーの勝ネオンさん、ありがとうございました。いや、実はアパメン体調不良ということで、情報としては持っていました。眠れてなかったということらしいですね。
いや、そんな中であれだけ本人からすると一つミスあったようですが、ゲーム全体で見るとかなり手堅く、プレーできていたような印象もありますし、いやそんな中で、集中して取り組めたのかなという感じはしますね。
あとは全員で、あと体調不良っていうか眠れないことはいつもなのかどうかっていうのもちょっと聞いたんですけど、実はそんなことはなくて、今日本当にたまたま眠れなかったんですということを言ってましたね。ただ面白いこと言ってましたね。カメラ目線、考えてくださると結構アパメン選手は昔からノリがいいというかですね、結構なんていうんでしょう、求めるとですねやってくれるプレイヤーなんですよね。
楽しみにしたいですね。USC のピックというところも楽しみですが、彼のカメラ目線、来週ですか。
あとはブリッツクランクもちょっとピックしたかったんですと。
ちょっと悔しいような表情見せてましたからね。ただブリッツラカンというところ、今後UC の一つピック候補になってくるというところで、各チーム警戒しなければならないのかなという感じもしますね。
さあ、それでは一度、インターバルに入らせていただきます。インターバル後は、ラウンド3マッチ3ですね、ラスカルジェスター VS デトネーションフォーカスミーの試合を、お届けいたします。放送開始時間は19時ですか。19時再開予定となっております。それでは一度失礼いたします。さらにはアローまで打ちましたが、食べることが可能なエンティ、さらにはテレポートまで来ている。ここにアパメ、スネアまで当たってオートアタックで近距離に近づくことができる。2キル獲得はアンソールドスタッフゲーミング。チャージから入るぞ。ただ大嵐はアパメ持っている。どうするここの判断。フック待っている。ただここにリレンプションだ。そして大嵐、ただそれよりもバーストが高い。
難しいですよね。
仕掛けたアローは当たっている。アパメンを狙い撃ち。さらにはそこにリレンプションからエグゾースト。いやダメージが足りない。その間にここは逆サイドブルー側の方でアスタロールが1キル取っている。そしてアパメンは生き残りました。ただスタンが入ってスカールがどこかへ。さらにはフラッシュアウター、フラッシュインでエンティが追撃。そしてなんとタワー下でもタワーダイブ。2つの通路で2つの集団戦。そして勝っているのはアンソールドスタッフゲーミングです。リマインドがいないのに勝ちました。13トレード。下がってる。もう当たらないといけないが、アローは当たらなかった。さあバックラインからホリスが来ますが、すぐさま陣形が整えているのはアンソールドスタッフゲーミング。そしてアパメンの大嵐は大きくなるで対応しましたが、それでもレガトにはスタンが決まっている。さあそのまま一気に前に出ていくのはアンソールドスタッフゲーミング。メイゼットがかなり前線でダメージをもらいましたが、それでもリマインド止まりません。ダブルキルはリマインド4キル獲得はアンソールドスタッフゲーミング。ホリスはスキルを逃げに使います。おかしのテレポートだいぶですよ。だいぶ
決戦場はないですが、
そうですね。さあアルティメットから仕掛けたのはメイゼット。そしてハレッジ、これはアルティメットで対応していますが、イグナイトが入っている。そこにアカシ、さらにはこれはファーストブラッドゼロスト、ショックウェーブ5マンダイブだ。バーニングコア捕まえているホリス。ショックウェーブは距離が足りない。そしてそれを見てからの仕掛けですが、ショックウェーブを打った。さらにはアルティメット夢中でチャーム状態、エンティに夢中だった。さあその間にアパメンがきっちりテレポートでカバーに来ている。さらにはネオの追撃。2人はローライフの状況か。バーニングコア、そしてマナがありません。ホリスきっちりリマインドが回収して、さらにはタワーダイブになっているがイージーか。さあもう一度スキル当ててゼロスターうまく逃げることには成功しましたが、これで3キル獲得アンソールドスタッフゲーミング。さあテレポート、そしてラッシュ。さあどうする。スティールは明石がノックアップで止めたが、それでも取ったのはネオだ。抑えた。バロン獲得アンソールドスタッフゲーミング。そのままの集団戦、ゼロストフォーカスアパメンフラッシュは先ほど使った後4キル獲得はアンソールドスタッフゲーミング。さあもう一度狩猟本能ですが、リマインドのナイススタン、エンゲージを拒否しています。アパメンのカバー。さあ仕掛けた。大きくなるをゼロストにしようです。さあそこからのエンゲージ。明石は奥目に入りましたが行きません。届かない。リマインドに届かない。さらには最後はネオのキックでダブルキルはアパメン。エース獲得はアンソールドスタッフゲーミング。さあ2ゲーム目少しヒヤッとしましたが、確実にアンソールドスタッフゲーミングが勝利をもぎ取りました。ゲーム2勝利したのはアンソールドスタッフゲーミングとなりました。
いい勝負してたじゃないですか。あれを見て前のシーズンはそんなに強くない印象だったんですけど、今シーズン強くなってるのかなと思ってます。
それは嬉しいですね。僕たちが、強くなったことでもあると思うんで、今日もその強さを示していきたいと思います。
やっぱり注目してる選手となるとラビー選手ですね。RJ に入る前から、結構有名な人で、ソロ級でラダーが高くて、その時使ってるジャンプが結構特殊な人で、オレリオンソルとアニビア、実際 USG 戦でも出していましたし、ここはやっぱり警戒するポイントかなと思ってますね。
では FM のボットデュオのユタボン選手とディリット選手ですね。毎回連戦で有利を取って広げるのがうまいので、警戒してますね。
僕とスティールの間の連携ミスで結構ミスが発生することが多かったんですよね。なので、今週それを意識して直して練習してきたので、その成果を出せたらいいかなと思ってます。
今日までチームで一生懸命練習してきたので、いい結果が出せるように頑張りたいと思います。
Welcome back, everyone. This is your host, Josh Howard, coming at you live from Seattle, Washington, bringing you all the LJL action as we move into our last game of Week 3 today between Detonation FocusMe and Rascal Jester. We just got finished up with Unsold Stuff Gaming and Burning Core, which Unsold Stuff did manage to take in a 2-0. It was not nearly as clean in the second game as we might have hoped, but they eventually figured out what their problems were and didn't take another fight where they didn't pretty much clean ace and immediately rout the other team. And right now we're going to see Detonation FocusMe, who's currently standing near the top of the league, playing up against Rascal Jester, who is currently sitting at the bottom. Detonation FocusMe has had a much more difficult time this split, simply because of how their early schedule is shaping up. The early games have not been the easiest. They did start off playing up against Unsold Stuff Gaming, which was a very entertaining, very close series overall between the two teams, partly because Steel, the new Korean import that they have, who was playing for Millennium shortly beforehand, is not paying off nearly as effectively as they might have hoped originally. He's been getting caught out a lot more than than Detonation FocusMe would like. And here against Rascal Jester is really carried so much by Wyvern and the new rookie mid laner Lavier. They are really in an interesting spot to go up right here against Detonation FocusMe. But the real thing we need to look at is the matchups between Paz and Achamomo, and in the bot lane, Utapon and Vivid taking on Noah and Yuki. Utapon has always been one of the strongest players in the LJL, and this split, we really see a strong return to form. And the somewhat lacking time in his top lane playing for DFM last split, he definitely did solidly overall, but he wasn't necessarily having the same kind of carry impact that he has been having on the AD carry here once again. We've seen how aggressive he can be with different characters like Kog'Maw, like with Caitlyn, with all kinds of different things where he's able to build up an early advantage for himself. And right now, he's sitting on a fantastic KDA of 8.0, and that's including the loss against USG. That's on par with many of the members of Rampage who currently have not dropped a game yet. In fact, the only game where he has had more than 2 deaths, he went 1-3-0 in the loss they had against Unsold Stuff, and I don't expect to see him die particularly much this set either. He's just so aggressive, so smart with the way he goes aggressive in the bottom lane, and I expect to see them really be able to take a large advantage there. Lavier is not a character that really plays meta champions. We've been seeing a lot of different stuff coming out of him so far. He's played Cassidy, he's played Syndra, he's played Talia, he's played Anivia, he's played Aurelion Sol. Aurelion Sol has so far been the only champion he's had a good success on so far. It'll be interesting to see what else he plays. He's kind of like Hollis right now in that he's playing, he's just trying to find a good champion. He actually did very well as Cassidon as well, but we're getting into picks and bans, and immediately the Ivern is getting banned away from Steel. It's interesting to see Ivern become a much more commonplace here in Japan, even compared to some of the other regions right now. Ivern's definitely not out of the meta in patch 7.11, but he's definitely not a top tier, the truest of top tiers. He's not that Elise, he's not that Lee Sin, but the Aurelion Sol is banned away from Lavier once again, and that's what happens when you're able to play these more unusual champions, just like with Huhi on CLG. He puts time into this unusual champion, and because of it, no other team really knows how to play against it because they don't know how to play with it. And if you can just ban that away, you just remove that threat entirely, but it does eat up one of your strong bans. And next, we're probably going to see a Zac ban as our last ban, even though Wyvern did not have the greatest success on Zac in the past. No, we're going to see 3 bans targeted at Lavier here in the middle. Whereas Rascal Jester has been able to spread out their bans a little bit, both Jace and Galio being those more flex picks for the game. But right now, Rascal Jester is going to be hovering on Zac. They do take it away, and with the Ivern already banned away, it'll be interesting to see what it is that Detonation FocusMe does choose to do with their newfound freedom with everything. We've seen mostly meta picks coming out for Steel. I wouldn't be surprised if we ended up seeing a Lee Sin or an Elise here, but they are hovering. They do pick that Thresh up for Vivid there in the bot lane. He's been having a great split so far whenever he's been getting that champion. He had the last time he played it went 2, and 14, completely crushing out the game. And with the Thresh Caitlyn lane already picked up for the bot lane of Detonation FocusMe, they're in a great spot right now. We see the Braum picked up as well as an early pick for Yuki, and with Ashe and Braum and Zac, they are looking for a very good engage composition, very strong front line, able to really just get in the middle of the enemy team. And we're going to have to see exactly what it is that Detonation FocusMe chooses to respond to this with. A lot of damage is going to be needed to get through that Braum, to get through that Zac. If they choose to pick another style of tank like a Gragas in the top lane, it's going to be very difficult for Detonation FocusMe to really power through that front line. They do choose to pick up the Sejuani again for Steel. Not a champion we're seeing that much focus on internationally. We're seeing a little bit of it. We saw a little bit of it top lane for a while. We saw like 1 or 2 support games as well. I believe that was in Europe. But it's an interesting thing to be picking this early. It's not the pick that some people were predicting it would be after the immediate rework when she got 100 armor at level 1 on that passive. But with 5 bans targeted at Lavier, Detonation FocusMe is really trying to shut down that mid lane. So we have the Aurelion Sol, the Syndra, the Anivia, the Talia, LeBlanc, and even Cassidon, and to a lesser extent Galio and Jace. So we really are pushing this mid lane to the limits to see exactly what it is we are going to see from these guys, as both teams opt to give their solo laners a lot of freedom in what it is they pick. They do pick up the Orianna for Seros, a very good early pickup, very safe in just about any matchup. But now we're going to have to see what Lavier and Achimomo do choose to pick for themselves, as Achimomo is going to have to blind pick his top lane against a very aggressive Paz. Unsurprisingly, we do see the Gragas being hovered right now and giving them a fantastic front line, a fantastic engage potential, looking for good picks, looking for good team fights. And now we have to see what it is that Lavier wants to pick. He's had all of these picks to wait. He knows what his opponent is. He's going to be able to get what he wants, but there's not that many options left available to him, not at the meta level. I wonder if we'll see something like a Fizz, something like a Talon coming out of it, because they have tons of frontline, but they do need a lot of damage. So something even like a Cassiopeia here would be strong, but they're opting for the Katarina coming in for Lavier. And Paz is once again moving towards that Urga. I don't know if that'll be locked in. The Fiora makes a little bit more sense up here, but it is a little bit scary right now for Detonation FocusMe. There is not a lot of immediate stuns to stop the ultimate coming out from that Katarina, and with the ability of Rascal Jester to just get a fight started whenever they want. If they find man advantage, if they find people caught out Lavia is in a position to snowball this game out of control, and with the strong early game that champion brings, as well as the ignite he's bringing up against Saros' barrier, they're going to be in a really good spot right now. Ultimately, I really like the drafts coming out from Rascal Jester, and I think they're actually looking to be a solid, at least 4th place team coming out right now. They took a game off of Unsold stuff. They came very close to taking a game off of Rampage in their series last week, and we'll have to see if they're able to really start threatening these top level teams, because they've already matched the entire bottom 3 of the LJL in terms of their performance from the last split. As the coaches shake hands, we are going to start loading into the Rift in just a moment, so we're going to go back to the Twitter vote. Send your tweets to the LJL official, hashtag RJ win for Rascal Jester, and hashtag DFM win for Detonation FocusMe. We're going to see just 2 very interesting compositions coming out. Lots of carries coming out for Detonation FocusMe. Lots of damage with not nearly the same amount of initiation. Mostly relying on the Glacial Prison coming out. No, what is it? Glacial Prison was Lysandra. No, that's Frozen Tomb. Who am I talking about? Definitely Glacial Prison for Sejuani, as well as the Shockwave coming out from Orianna. And maybe a Death Sentence sprinkled here and there from the Thresh. But they're going to be in a good spot to really try and find a lot of picks, to create a lot of pressure around the map. But they are at risk of getting collapsed upon by the strong pick potential, by the strong teamfight potential of Rascal Jester as they come out. We do see this will probably be one of the last patches where we really see, excessive Doran's Ring usage coming out, as it does get nerfed fairly substantially in patch 7.12 with the mana refund on killing minions reduced to a unique passive. But for now, we are seeing it built up as the first item coming out here from Gragas, using the extra mana to get more happy hour products off, making sure he's healthy throughout the lane. But Lavia is opting to go for the Dark Seal. Now, that's really cool. There's a couple things you get here. It does build into that Magi Soul Stealer. Hey, I remembered the name. But it's well, it stacks up, and it makes the refillable potion much more effective early in this game. So it'll be much harder to bully him out of lane, as right now, Saros and Driven not quite going to pick that up. That would have actually given them a much larger advantage than you might have suspected, simply because of the experience gain it does grant you. But right now, a 70% Twitter vote lead coming out for Detonation FocusMe. No surprise there. One of the favorite teams in the league right now. And Rascal Jester is actually doing fairly well for themselves in terms of these fan votes, simply because of how strong they are. And that's cool. Poses coming out from the Brambleback. And Wyvern is going to be starting up here on these chickens. Going to be able to pick that up and have a lot more freedom to move around, but they will know where he's going. They see that he's going to... Oh, that was smart right there by Wyvern. He looks as though he's going to be heading towards the top lane, and I don't think that ward saw him, as he is going to start here on the bottom side of the jungle, discouraging Steel from really trying to match it. And if Steel does try and counter jungle the Zac at the early levels, not going to be able to find the same kind of aggression, simply because there's nothing to be stolen. Because Wyvern will have cleared out the entire southern jungle. But right now, Utapon and Vivid do find the level 2 advantage, are going to be able to push Noah and Yuki around, at least for now, as Braum is not going to be in the same position to really have a strong level 1, level 2, simply because he's going to be behind in it. And without any jungle pressure from either team, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for a Rascal Jester to really have a strong presence in the bot lane. But on the other hand, in the mid lane, we are starting to see Saros bully around Lavia, and Katarina is known for an incredibly strong level 1/level 2 coming out with that flash and that ignite. Steel does get spotted out by that Hawk Chat, and man, Wyvern's doing some cool stuff with the Zac overall. Not only dodging the wards there, but also moving around and doing a good job of just optimizing his jungle, using the stretching strikes to, not only finish up the blue buff, but also to start the Gromp a little bit earlier as well. They are pinging towards the blue buff. They do have some idea of where he is. Saros and Lavia trading here in the mid lane. But with both junglers currently in a position where they are spotting each other out, they do spot Wyvern on that ward. This could be a dangerous spot for Wyvern right now on the Zac. Doesn't quite know where Steel is, and as he starts up the Raptors right here, they are going to be in a position for a smite fight, but it's not really a fight if Steel is the only one who actually has the smite. And there we go. Does take away the large chicken for himself, and Wyvern is looking for a little bit more, but right now, there's no damage to follow him up, as Lavia is still in that mid lane. Not roaming up quite yet, and only a couple CS behind. He's in a good spot. Ooh, Death Sentence does land down here onto Yuki down the bot lane. Takes a good chunk of damage, but blocks a lot of it with the Unbreakable as well. Good job on Vivid, just getting a little bit more damage there in the bot lane, using that range advantage he has on that Thresh to start bullying people around it. An interesting summoner choice coming out there from Thresh as well. He is going to be using that Ignite as opposed to the Exhaust. Now, Ignite, many people do like it for the increased kill power you have in lane, and Utapon and Vivid have been very aggressive so far. Ooh, good Thunderlord's proc there by Sarah's using the Command Protect, but here comes Wyvern on the backside, does get cooked up by the Death Sentence, takes a turret shot for his troubles, but that should be just about it. There's not a whole lot more for Vivid and Utapon to do, but Lavia is in a bad spot here. He is going to be forced to flash in just a moment. Steel comes forward, grabs for his blood immediately, and with both summoners available still on Lavia, that's not a good spot for him to be in, as he's going to fall really far behind as Saros and Steel push in this wave. He's not only going to lose out on all the experience, but also all the gold here on at least an entire wave. It's currently sitting 15 CS behind only the 5-minute mark. But right now, Vivid and Utapon are starting to bully around Yuki and Noah quite a bit, even though they're taking a decent amount of poke coming out simply from all the volleys that Noah is able to put on pretty safely. But we definitely need to start seeing Wyvern in the next couple of levels. We won't see him gank again until he hits probably level 6. Unless he's going to try and move into the mid lane, help out his mid laner, put Saros behind a little bit right now. But Paz, unsurprisingly, picking up a Tiamat, heading directly to the top lane. Nothing really surprising coming out of itemizations right now. A couple of amp tomes being built up by Lavia, and there's a lot of options, but it's probably going to be that Hextech Gunblade. The Blade of the Rune King for AP champions, giving you lots of extra sustain, giving you a little bit of slow, a little bit of extra damage, as well as just, you know, some early poke. It's such a feel-good item to build, because you just have an extra damage coming out of the Hextech Revolver, you get that lifesteal and the slow coming out of the Bilgewater Cutlass, and then when you actually finish it, it just feels so good to get that part as well. It feels so incredibly good to build. Unlike a couple of other items like Randuin's, which we might see this game, but here we go. We have Wyvern jumping onto Saros. There comes the ultimate out of Lavia. The Shockwave does stop him a little bit, is forced to barrier and flash out, but Steel's here trying to find a little bit back. He's got plenty of health, but not a lot of damage, as Saros is not in a spot to help out his teammate. Vivid is going to be roaming up right here to see if he can find something. But with Wyvern already heading back into the jungle, he is going to get caught out by that Death Sense. And here comes Steel. The Hawkshot does find him, does flash away. But the jump is not going to get him out. But the passive will, as Yuki and Noah do come up to support their jungler. But that is an important, very important set of cooldowns no longer available, with the passive and the flash being blown there by Zac. He's going to be in a much more difficult spot as he tries to find these, and he's going quite low to do this blue buff, but it's going to be alright. They do spot him out. They do have good tabs on him. He is going to spot this ward. Okay, there he is. He's going to get it. Not going to forget about it as he goes to the Krugs, and Paz and Achamomo doing so much damage. Paz is really interesting to watch because he's a very, very aggressive top laner overall, and something we don't really see a whole lot in Japan. When Mei Z was in the top lane, we saw a little bit of it, but Achamomo was much more passive. Evie does not necessarily go for the solo kills in lane to the same degree that Paz does, and mostly focuses on teamfight present, but Detonation FocusMe has always been a team that has been about very strong lanes and really punishing people in the early game. And right now, Seal is doing a good job. He's coming in, going to take away this blue buff away from Wyvern. And while it is a good pickup, it's not necessarily going to be the most impactful thing in the world. Neither Zac nor Katarina suffer too much from not having a blue buff, both being manaless champions. And the only person there's not really a good blue buff user on all of Rascal Jester, but here comes Wyvern getting the stretching strikes onto Saros, but the shockwave is going to stop him, but he is going to get kidnapped by the Let's Bounce. There's not a whole lot for anyone left on the team to do. He's just trying to run towards Paz, trying to get a little bit of help, commits the flash there by Lavier, and that is going to be the first kill of the game for Rascal Jester, being put onto the Katarina, exactly who you want to do it. And that's a beautiful repeat gank. That's exactly what you want to see from Wyvern. You pick a target, you gank them repeatedly, because once they no longer have summoners, especially with the CC and the damage that you bring in that Katarina lane, it's potentially a huge snowball right here. And Wyvern and Lavia doing fantastic work here for Rascal Jester. And Lavia is going to start moving towards the bottom. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow and the Glacial Fizzer is going to find Vivid. Lots of damage being put back onto Noah. The Exhaust and the Ignite all coming out. But Lavia is now here. He's going to clean up the first one onto Vivid for sure. He gets one. And Utapon just has to run for the hills. He's going to run to the safety of his teammate Steel. But the Hawkshot is going to spot him out. And that should be the end of that. We saw both of the bot lane sitting down there for so long, both still sitting on that Doran shield. And with the kill going over to Lavier, it's going to be a much more difficult spot, as both the bot laners are going to probably pick up BF Sword, Bilgewater, Cutlass, and come back to lane and be in a good, strong spot. Steel is going to find Lavier right here. Not going to get a whole lot, just a little bit of damage right here. Not going to be able to get supported by Saros, who does not have the shockwave nor the flash available to him right now. But with the CS lead that he's building, they are managing to stay a little bit ahead in gold right now. And Utapon is actually going to greed shove this bot lane. That's going to put him in an awkward spot, because Vivid doesn't have a whole lot to do other than put down wards right now, trying to find good information on Wyvern, where Yuki, Noah, and Lavier are. But we're going to see Utapon back. He's definitely going to pick up a BF sword. And he ends up picking up the Zeal as well. So he's definitely going to be in a little bit of a damage advantage over Noah right now. But the longer trades, if they don't actually finalize a kill and get plenty of poke down, he is going to be able to just lifesteal back up. Something that we aren't going to see Utapon be able to do. Vivid and Steel are moving in, trying to find Wyvern a little bit. Put more pressure onto him so that he can't help out Lavia anymore. But right now, DFM's doing a good job of staying strong. They do spot Wyvern out with that ward at the Krugs. So DFM's bot lane is going to know to play a little bit more safely in the next couple, in about 30 seconds or so, before Wyvern moves around. Until they see him again, they're in a kind of an awkward spot, because they don't know exactly where he is. They saw him last on that ward with the pink ward there. He will not yet get spotted out by this ward, but he will just back right here. They know about the ward. They know that he can't come forward safely to get a gank in there. And right now, Utapon and Vivid playing as aggressive as ever. The mobility boots coming out from Vivid, allowing him to move around, help out his jungler, help out his mid laner. And that's, I do like the adaptation coming out of Detonation FocusMe. They do know that Lavier is the person to shut down in this game. Noah and Yuki have not had the same kind of impact on these games, as Noah's really been relegated to these more, they are decently high damage, but oh no, here comes Wyvern. Not gonna land that E onto anyone. And they do manage to take the ward out. But Noah's been mostly relegated to playing these, the archer. The two archers, Varus and Ashe, both having a decent engaging abilities. And just like solid team fighting, Runin's Hurricane, just getting some good poke out and being fairly safe, fairly self-sufficient, but not playing the really high damage characters. We see Kog'Maw a little bit, Twitch, Caitlyn. He's instead just playing the more utility, allowing, giving Lavia and Wyvern the tools they need to be as successful as possible. Hawkshot does spot out Steel as he's doing his red buff right now. And Paz is not yet finding a lead really onto Achimomo right now. But right now, just look at that difference. The real standout here we do see is Utapon with the current KDA of 8.0 overall. The rest of his team has been doing solidly, sitting between the 3 and 5 marks. which is exactly what you expect, but Rascal Jester not doing nearly as hot. Blue buff doing some interesting things there, and the stretching strikes does pull Steel back a little bit as he tries to fulfill his namesake once again and pick up another blue buff. Achamomo recognizes that his team is a little bit low on damage overall. Is going to be going for that early Iceborne Gauntlet to fight the early damage being brought out by Paz and really just create more CC as well as more damage. And it's just a really good item on Gragas right now, and a lot of people are starting to go towards it once again on that character, and a little bit on Galio as well, because it provides some more damage. It provides just as much armor as you'd find on other major armor items. It just lacks a little bit of health, but you build plenty of health. You get tanky enough on these characters already. Detonation FocusMe going to take this first Ocean Dragon completely uncontested, and they really had no idea. We saw the missing pings coming out of Rascal Jester there towards the bottom. They weren't sure where they were going, and with a Mountain Dragon going to be the next one, DFM sets himself up for good success. Great success as they move around. And Ocean Drag is such a strong dragon, especially early in the game, simply because of all of the regen it provides. We'll see Paz already starting to regenerate lots of missing health and mana. It's kind of like having a miniature red buff and miniature blue buff on your team. It's not the most effective on this team. We really see each dragon finds really good usage on certain types of teams. We would actually really like to see something like a Cloud Dragon or an Infernal Dragon here for Rascal Jester really push forward their strengths in terms of how they're able to move around, find picks, and really to get things started. On the other hand, Detonation FocusMe would also really like something like a Mountain Dragon here, simply because it allows them to get the split push around. Here comes Wyvern going over, does find two members with that E. Then Chain Crystal Arrow finds its way onto Steel once again. Saros is caught out. Lavia is going to come in, starting to put lots of damage onto Steel. Gets a 3-man shockwave followed by the Glacial Prison. Is going to lock down Lavia. He's going to be the first casualty of this fight. Steel on the back end will go down as well. Wyvern's looking for anything he can, but he's just going to use that passive once again, and this time he's not going to be able to find anything. Utapon finds a kill for himself as well on a 2-for-1 trade there for Detonation FocusMe. Is definitely something they're going to be very happy to take. The 3-man shockwave coming out really sentenced Lavier and Wyvern to death, as we see both the top laners still up. They're neither one willing to teleport in the face of the other, but we'll take another look at that. Wyvern comes in with that E, tries to find someone, and Steel is locked up for such a long period of time. Yuki, Wyvern, and Lavia all cut up right here as Noah on the outside. They get stunned up and slowed by so much. It gives Utapon time to come in here and bring the remaining damage that they were looking for. And Noah and Yuki not in a position to do anything to help the blobs. Ooh, that's a flash coming out there of Noah. Death sentence threatening to kill him so early. And with the Static Shiv already being finished here by Utapon, that's definitely a scary position for Noah to go into. He does not yet have a completed item. Just sitting on the Bilgewater Cutlass and the Recurve Bow. As Saros moves around, cleans up, he is still sitting on about a 30 CS lead, where in the top lane, Achamomo and Paz are really just kind of going at it. Neither of them finding a good advantage onto the other, and likely going to stay that way until Steel or Wyvern do choose to put some focus into that top lane, blow one of the flashes, potentially take one of the turrets, and it's gonna hit a point of, well, hey, look, the turrets, even though it's at full health, it's gonna go down almost immediately due to the focus of two members of either of these teams. Neither team really opting to go for the Rift Herald yet. The Scuttle Crab is going to spot out Wyvern a little bit there, as he does get a ward onto it. And Detonation FocusMe is going to be alright to just kind of move around, let Paz do his thing on this Fiora. Good damage coming out of Achamomo. He's going to regen a lot of that through the Ravenous Hydra. Going onto Saros once again, immediately forced to flash out. But DFM, the strong lanes are starting to come in. Misses the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Nothing to really follow it up. They're just going to run at him really fast. try and prevent their turret from going down. Send several members, Lavier and Wyvern, looking towards the bottom half of the map. But in the mid lane, Saros and Steel fighting their way onto Lavier, getting some good damage onto him, going to use the shockwave and just burst him out. Lavier, you see, unhappy with that performance there, as he does not expect all of those ultimates to be committed. Steel does use the Glacial Prison a little bit late, but it's going to be alright. Utapon and Noah they were trying to race down there in the bot lane against Saros and Steel, but not quite going to get the first turret. They're going to get it in just a moment as Wyvern does come down here. Achamomo in an awkward position. There's no ultimates available. He doesn't have flash either. Saros is going to come here, and they are going to pick up another kill. Wyvern's trying to find something on the other side of the map, but the Dark Passage is going to keep DFM safe as they move around the rest of the map. Super safe and just outplaying everywhere across the map. They pick up Lavier, they pick up Achamomo. They don't die to the incredible gank potential that Wyvern offers. And with 2 turrets now under their belt, they're going to find a third one in just a moment. Death Sentence doesn't hit. His hitbox does not increase in size due to the backing animation, but there's going to be the third one going down here, in a 6,000 or 5,000 gold lead coming out for Detonation FocusMe as they start to move around. The next dragon is going to be spawning in about 30 seconds. With all the gold leads built up on Detonation FocusMe, they're going to hit these massive item spikes. We're going to see a Black Cleaver and the Ravenous Hydra being built up by Paz, as well as the Infinity Edge being finished up by Utapon here in just a moment. As they start to move, we're going to see them take up this Mountain Dragon for sure. And whether or not Rascal Jester chooses to contest will be very telling for how the rest of the game goes. Lavia is in a good position, 3-3-0. Achamomo is doing fine. Zach's doing fine. Ash is a little bit behind due to the CS discrepancy, as well as the kill that Utapon has found. But with the dragon coming up and the teleports available for both top laners, DFM's going to start moving in and really probably just start this right up as we see them moving around, clearing out vision. Yuki is not able to get over, and big headshot damage coming on to Yuki there. But with the 2 items built up onto almost all members of Detonation FocusMe, it's going to be very scary for Rascal Jester to come in. We're going to have to see a teleport in a moment. There goes Wyvern, finds his way on to Steel. They're just looking for damage right now. Stretching Strikes brings him back in. Teleport is committed by Paz. Steel is still on the dragon. Wyvern is stuck, but here comes the counter teleport coming in from Achamomo. Paz is going to find his way onto the backside. Vivid just looking to push Achamomo away, and this dragon is going low. Just a Dance is going to reward DFM with the dragon, but here comes the fight. There goes Zach onto the back line, finds his way onto Utapon, is going to find his way, but Lavier is looking to find the kill. He does finally find the kill onto Utapon, but it is traded back for Yuki on the other side. Shockwave does find its way onto Noah and Achamomo, and that is going to be a 1-team fight here for Detonation FocusMe, finding a double kill onto Paz, and Steel finds another one onto Wyvern. Lavier is the only one to make his way out, and the only one to pick up a kill in that team fight, and right now we see Detonation FocusMe immediately turning towards the Baron. There's no smite to contest. It's going to be a little bit slow, but Lavia is going to have to move all the way from base if he wants to get anything done here, and by that time, the Baron should be a lost cause here for Rascal Jester. Just need the 3 members as they're starting to beat it down. Like I said, it's going to be a slow take, but it is going to be a take nonetheless, as there is no vision, there's no safety for Rascal Jester, and with no teleport available, they are going to be taking it down. So ultimately, 2 neutral objectives. We'll take another look. Wyvern goes in, gets a good engage here onto Steel, but there's nothing to follow it up quite yet. We do see Death Sentence going down, missing, but Paz coming around here providing so much threat. As opposed to Achamomo, he doesn't necessarily provide the same level of threat. Vivid just walks towards him, threatening to flay him back, and by the time Rascal Jester regroups, the dragon's already gone. He finds his way onto Utapon. Lavier goes in immediately after, gets plenty of damage down, and ends up igniting him for the kill as he runs away. But on the other hand, Paz, just after completing the grand challenge onto Noah, just chunks out the ADC so hard, and the 2 solo laners of Detonation FocusMe really showing how dominant and how aggressive and how just individually strong Detonation FocusMe is as a team. And now with the 8,000 gold lead, the Baron, and 2 Elemental Dragons, they're going to be able to create tons of pressure as they start to ward up the bottom side of the map. Saros moving, getting lanes push in the top lane. He's going to be heading down towards the mid lane in just a moment. And Rascal Jester, they have the tools to bring themselves back into this game. They have the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. They have Zac just jumping in, but they need to do it. They need to find a fight where they're overmanned with no teleport on Paz right now. We see them going in right now, trying to find their way onto Utapon. Is going to bring him back for the stretching strikes. Kidnaps him back into the rest of the team. Steel, Vivid are in an awkward spot, and this is the team fight that we were looking for from Rascal Jester. Trying to find his way onto anybody else. Saros is not going to be pulled back quite yet, but Steel's in a bad spot. Paz is just looking to find something on the backside. Does take down Wyvern. Trying to find his way onto Noah. Is going to be stunned up. Uses the repulse and is going to probably make his way out. Never mind, Lavia is going to jump in, pick that up, goes over to Noah, but Saros on the backside is not going to be able to do anything further, and that is a complete ace for just Wyvern in that fight, and that's exactly what we're looking for coming out of Rascal Jester. The arrow finds its way, Wyvern finds its way in, brings in the powerhouse of Utapon and Vivid, and I believe one other member. Paz was not in a spot to respond anywhere in time, and the long drawn out fight really comes in favor as Noah is able to put out tons of damage, and there's not a whole lot of focused fire that Detonation FocusMe can do when they're all split up and dead. It does put Rascal Jester in a much better spot than they were before, narrowing the gold lead down to only 6,000, removing all of the Baron pressure from the members of Detonation FocusMe, but they're not out of the woods yet. They need to be able to do that once or twice more because they did lose the mid turret when all is said and done. But here we go. Wyvern goes in, does find his way onto Utapon, brings Steel and Utapon back into the rest of the team, and with the ultimate coming out of Katarina doing so much damage across all of the members, he's already fed. Wyvern tries to find more. And Detonation FocusMe seems to have this weird split call. Saros wants to get out, Steel wants to get out, but Wyvern or Paz is like, nah, I'm gonna kill this guy. They do that, and by the time he gets onto the rest of the team, he doesn't know when enough is enough. Steel needs to get out. Saros doesn't have his ultimate, doesn't have flash, cannot move around nearly as safely, and with the death ball of Rascal Jester moving around, there's nothing left for Detonation FocusMe to do. And that's what happens a little bit when you're a very strong team. You know that you can individually outplay people, but taking that 3v5 fight, they do manage to get something back, but they give up so much more than that, giving up a shutdown onto Paz, and almost definitely a shutdown onto Steel and Saros as well. And so the amount of gold that they end up giving over in exchange for getting just a little bit back is absolutely not worthwhile. Paz is starting to build towards that Death's Dance as well. Going to be healing a lot, and now that he has his teleport up once more, it's going to be much more difficult for Rascal Jester to find those kind of engages again. They need to pull it off. I'd like to see an engage here just to force it out from the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Finds his way onto Utapon, who does use a quick Silver Sash and Dark Passage out to safety right now. Steel's on the backside, potentially looking for some kind of engage. And with the back coming out from Lavia, it is giving Detonation FocusMe a good opportunity to start sieging with the Mountain Drake and the Ocean Drake. They're going to be staying pretty healthy overall as Wyvern's looking for another engage right here. The range that Zac provides on engages is absolutely bonkers. In a position to hit Steel even from way back behind that wall. But Achamomo is looking to go pretty even in these trades with Paz overall. The base damages combined with the Iceborne Gauntlet is really just showing how strong the champion is. But look at him go. The Stretching Strikes does not land onto Utapon. Instead, going to hit a minion. An opportunity for a counter engage is available. There goes the Glacial Prison. Just finds its way onto Yuki. It's not the target they want. Lavia jumps in, not finding a whole lot of damage. Gets some onto Utapon. The Shockwave finds its way onto Wyvern and Yuki. That's the front line already going down. And they're going to be able to pick this up. Teleport is coming out from Achamomo. But Paz is just going to use this opportunity to take the next top turret. And that's not the team that needs to be down to teleport going into these fights. That's going to be 2 turrets going over to Detonation FocusMe as they take one in the top lane and in the bot lane. They're going to continue moving in, trying to find anything but not safe anymore. They don't feel like they have the opportunity to do so and are instead going to take the Mountain Dragon, giving them their second one of the game and their third Elemental Drake. as the Elder Dragon is going to start coming online. They're going to have one more dragon before that point, I believe. And it's just going to start powering up really heavily. And another Mountain Dragon. Going to be the 4th dragon of the game. Rascal Jester is going to take the opportunity to get a lot more vision control here on the Baron side of the map, knowing that all the members of Detonation FocusMe are already going to back. It's going to be a good spot to potentially find some picks onto Saros, onto Utapone, onto Paz, and anyone who's over here. And we're going to see Paz and Achamomo shift from the top lane to the bot lane right now. And without the teleport onto Achamomo, it's definitely a good spot for Detonation FocusMe to try and force the Baron in the next 30 seconds to a minute. Look at this. Look at this. They're trying to find their way onto Utapone, not quite finding their way. Looking for the Dark Passage does get him out. Not finding anybody with the Let's Bounce from Wyvern. I do like the idea. Unfortunately, the execution just was not there. But Paz now with a completed Death Stance, the Hydra, and the Black Cleaver is going to be very difficult to push around. He's going to heal up so much more between these fights, and right now he's putting so much damage onto this inhibitor turret as another wave comes in. He's just going to be able to take this for free. Achamomo doesn't get there in time, and now he's going to start hitting the inhibitor. I've seen this story before. Detonation FocusMe is going to start the Baron. Just one moment. Try and force Rascal Jester to respond to them, but Achamomo can't come anywhere near Paz at this point. And he's just going to start hitting this Nexus turret. And this is an awful spot for Rascal Jester to be in. They need to find and engage. They need to find it soon. Saros is separated a little bit, and they're looking for a good spot. He's going to try and get his way on. They need to pop the Banshee's Veil. As he goes on, misses the stretching strikes. Not going to do a whole lot. Taking a lot of damage in return, and Yuki's caught out in a bad spot, forced to flash. Glacial Persian is not going to quite find its way onto anybody, but all of Detonation FocusMe is starting to collapse. They're getting a lot of damage onto Saros. He is going to be shielded up so much and is likely going to fall in just a moment. No, he's still alive. They don't manage to take him down, but Noah is going to be the next one to fall. Wyvern's going to have to jump out. Achamomo not able to get to the team fight in time, and that's just a clean 3 kills. They're starting to ping towards the mid lane turret. They should be able to take that. Paz is just going to run through, not caring about this turret at all. He's going to be able to heal up. Utapone does crush down these turrets, and they're just doing so well for themselves once again. That's going to be the second inhibitor of the game, and with a 5-on-2 at the 31 minutes, they still have about 20 seconds before anyone from Rascal Jester is going to respawn. They should be able to clean up the game pretty easily here. There's just tanks coming out. Wyvern's trying to find his way onto anybody. He does get some good damage onto Saros there and kidnaps 3 members, but there's no damage to follow it up. Even with the turrets there, he does go down as well. Detonation FocusMe should be able to clean this one up. First Nexus turret's down, second one's down. They are getting a lot of damage there onto Steel, but here comes Paz doing so much damage, going to find another kill onto Noah. Going absolutely nuts there in the player cam, just like, oh. Paz's Fiora is good. Paz knows it, and he was able to just find another kill, going absolutely nuts there in the player cams. Rascal Jester was looking alright. They had some good signs of life. Did get Saros to be a little bit behind, but their team fighting after that was just a little bit lacking. We weren't able to find the really effective engages that they were really looking for, and instead just slowly would fall behind due to their weaker lanes. The weaker lanes of Rascal Jester against Detonation FocusMe is potentially just a poor team matchup. Detonation FocusMe really looks for those early advantages by pushing them down. They took all 3 outer turrets basically in rapid succession without a whole lot of response coming out from Rascal Jester. But once again, this is Josh with Joshi Howard. You can find me on Twitter at Joshi_TV, as well as on YouTube. All the links are going to be down below in the Twitch links. You'll be able to find all the information, find the VODs. But for now, we're going to take a quick break as Detonation FocusMe goes 1-0 in the series up against Rascal Jester for potentially our last game of the night. See you in a couple minutes, guys.
日は LJL2017 サマースプリットラウンド3 Day 2の模様をお送り
Welcome back, everyone. This is once again Joshua Joshi Howard. It's still me, guys. What a surprise. We're going to be going back into our fourth game of the day. Detonation FocusMe is currently up 1-0 up against Rascal Jester, and right now they're looking to end our night a little bit early. I have to say I'm really excited. It'll be the earliest we get to go to sleep after one of these days. Normally we're used to going to bed around 6 or 7, so go Detonation. Let's get some sleep, guys. It is currently 4 in the morning here in Seattle, Washington, and I do have to wake up fairly early for work tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to a fast game. Detonation is going to be on the blue side again this game, it looks like, as they are going to be loading in the pick ban phase in just a moment. Detonation FocusMe looking good overall in the game. Had a couple of sour spots at the very beginning as Wyvern showed why he's one of the stronger junglers, and really just going in and making Saros' life really difficult in the mid lane. He was able to pull through though, had some great shockwaves later in the game, and just looked really good overall. So it'll be interesting to see what exactly it is that Lavier does choose to move to. He's already had so many mid bans. There's the Aurelion Soul, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw both a Katarina as well as an Anivia ban coming out here in this first round of bans, really cutting his champion pool to just so many different things, and it'll be an interesting thing to see how deep they go with the bans here. We do see the Galio ban coming out from Rascal Jester, as well as the Zac. Not going to be wanting to give that over to Steel, who has been showing a proficiency so far with the more tanky junglers, having a lot of different options. He's played the Sejuani twice, won both times, played Ivern, but he's not averse to the Lee Sin or the Elise. But we do see the Talia ban being the last one coming out, and the Rascal Jester coach is kind of like, alright, sure, whatever. But it'll be interesting to see what it is that they banned for their last ban here, simply because there's so many different options, and it is going to be that Ivern ban. So we are likely going to see Steel on something like that Sejuani, something like the Lee Sin or Elise. And right now, do I actually hear the champion select sounds? Huh, I don't think we normally hear those, but we do see the Syndra being put up here first for Saros. That's going to give him a strong lane pretty much no matter what it is that Lavier does end up picking, and serves as an extra ban. But it does mean that Rascal Jester is going to get a little bit more freedom with exactly how it is they want to pick. The Lee Sin being hovered. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something like a Lee Sin and a Gragas here. Either that or an ADC. They have Caitlyn available, Ashe is available, Varus is available, the top three that we tend to see. And they really have their pick of the litter. They have a lot of options that they can go for. Well, okay, I was going to be very surprised with an Olaf pick there with the Lee Sin already, but it looks like they are going to be picking up Noah's, what's starting to look like his signature champion, that Ashe right there, the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Warwick is being hovered here for Steel. We've seen Neo play it a little bit. Rek'Sai, 7.11 is not the prettiest champion. The ultimate misses so often, but they're long hovering it. I would not be super surprised to see them lock it in, but it looks like they are going to pick up something. Vivid's Thresh has been fantastic this season so far. We saw it again last game. We saw it earlier as well. A lot of cool things coming out, and nothing surprising coming out of any of these picks so far. All very safe, all very standard. And we'll probably end up seeing something like a Zyra coming out from Yuki here in just a moment. Something he's played quite well. LeBlanc being hovered here for Lavier. We saw LeBlanc earlier being played by Hollis, and it did not do particularly well up against Remind's Cassiopeia, but this isn't La Hollis, and this isn't Cassiopeia, and it is going to be locked in. So Syndra versus LeBlanc there in the mid lane, a very volatile mid lane. Whoever gets an early lead there will have a large advantage going into the rest of the game. But we're going to go into our second round of bans here, and with neither side currently having a top laner, we're probably going to see a lot of bans getting put down onto that. Pazifiora instantly banned away. Achamomo's been playing mostly tanks, so a Gragas ban, a Shen ban would not be unlikely here, as he's only played Gragas and Galio so far. So if they do end up banning away that Gragas, it'll be interesting to see what exactly he does go on for his third pick. But Tahm Kench is being banned away here. from Yuki and potentially from Hachimomo as well. Definitely something that Japan is very familiar with playing in the top lane. But both Paz's Fiora and his Kennen are going to be banned out here. The two champions he's potentially seen the most success with, even though his Kennen was against the one game that they lost against Unsold Stuff Gaming. He still had a great game, had some good flanks, looked really good overall. Not sure what Rascal Jester's coach is looking at, but the Gragas is going to be banned out, meaning that we do have to see a new champion coming out from Hachimomo this split. And we're probably going to see a support coming out here. There's no reason not to pick it. Give your top laner the option to counter pick after seeing what Paz is going to pick here. We'll probably see a Caitlyn coming out here pretty quickly for Utapone, and then whatever it is that Paz does decide to play. We've seen him play Renekton, we've seen him play Urgot as well. Neither of them would be particularly surprising, but a Twitch actually being hovered here for Utapone. Not something we've seen him play yet this split. Something we saw Rakenya play to great effect in their last set. But it does look like Paz is going to be opting towards a more aggressive, fairly safe top laner in this Jarvan. Just going to be able to bully around almost whatever he wants. But we could see a lot of different things coming out of Hachimomo right here. Most of the tanks are taken, but Nautilus he's fallen a little bit out of favor, but he's definitely still a viable champion. And it would be good. It would be a great front line to pick up. And we haven't really seen him play things outside of tanks, and it is going to be the Nautilus that they're hovering right there. Good way to lock down Twitch, good way to lock down Syndra, and it is going to be the pick here for Hachimomo. Nautilus versus Jarvan in the top lane. Potentially not the best pickup overall, simply because they banned out, one of the two champions he plays, and DetonatioN FocusMe are starting to put him on the next tier of top laners, simply because Hachimomo has not necessarily been too keen on playing the more carry top laners of Jace, Kennen, Renekton, all that good jazz. But we are going to be loading in DetonatioN FocusMe, not paying the same amount of attention to the cameras as we saw from Unsold Stuff earlier. Way too focused on the game, and for good reason. They are one of the top teams, and they are going to try and close it out 2-0, trying to stay abreast of Rampage at the top of the standings. If they do manage to pick up this game here, they'll only be one game behind Rampage, having dropped one to Unsold Stuff previously in the split. But once again, send all of your Twitter votes to LJL Official on Twitter. Hashtag DFM win for DetonatioN FocusMe, or hashtag RJ win for Rascal Jester, as these two teams do load into the Rift. And Steel's Elise should be very interesting to see how it moves around. We're seeing a very, very standard competitive matchup. Lee Sin and Elise, both very safe, but still able to go aggressive. And the real champion we need to be watching this game is going to be Utapone's Twitch. We've seen Twitch pop up at Worlds a number of times whenever there's a major international event, because he just pops up wherever he wants, blows you away with a rat-a-tat-tat. And it's just, if it gets ahead, it's so hard to deal with. And if it's behind, it still has a fantastic teamfight presence, as he just starts to shred across the entire team. And we're starting to go in. Nothing particularly surprising coming out once again. Paz is opting for the Dorn Shield, whereas earlier we did see the, what was it? It was Akashi's Jarvan opting for the Corrupting Potion. So not quite, oh, come on, Vivid. That should have been an easy one. He's laughing it off, but that was potentially a very early first blood. A good adaptation in the level 1, but a disappointing execution coming out. They are going to end up getting some wards down here. They are going to have a good idea on where Steel is going to be starting in this game, and it looks like he is going to be starting on the red buff, whereas Lee Sin does look to start at the chickens once again, and potentially without the help of Hachimomo. He's got plenty of time to move down there, help his little buddy out. But yeah, interesting start to the game. I wonder if he expected Wyvern to react faster, but he didn't see anyone at the beginning, so it's a little surprising that they ended up throwing that out and ending up missing it. Achimomo is going to start here with the W, get that shield down, plenty of AoE damage, going to help out Wyvern without taking a whole lot of damage in return, but potentially a weaker level 1 going up against Paz here in the top lane. Oh! Utapon picks up that red buff, takes it from Steel. That is a new meta. New meta. We are going to have to see him go very aggressive here because he is still level 1 there in the jungle. And oh man, that's very awkward. They do know where he is, and Noah and Yuki need to know that something's up. He's just waiting for level 2, going in, trying to find, and he does have this red buff. They are going to try and make the best of it. They do find their way onto Noah. Immediate exhaust being put down. The death sentence does land onto Yuki, and they are going to take an interesting early advantage, and Steel is trying to find his way onto Wyvern, but here comes Paz and Saros. Wyvern does not have a whole lot to do, but he does flash in safeguard to his team. What a bizarre early game right now. Utapon's going to try again. There is no flash left on Noah, no exhaust left on Yuki. So if they do find their way on, Death Sentence does land. There comes a little bit more damage. The Unbreakable is going to stop a lot of it, but Flay is going to pull him right back. Lots of damage starting to be put down as the Expunge goes across both members again. They're going to be able to get a good freeze as the wave is really far back, but what a what a bizarre early game. Wyvern doesn't seem to have a good grasp of where Steel is right now. Choosing to back out from those Krugs immediately. Picks up a Doran's Blade to start the game. I don't know if I've ever seen this. Saris is getting jumped on by Lavia. Good damage being put down there. And I really don't know what to make of this game. You don't see the Doran's Blade coming out in the jungle almost ever. I actually can't think the last time I saw the Paz and Achimo trading up here in the top lane, just catching him out. There's the red buff going over to Utapon. He is using it to a pretty good effect right now, currently up about 9 CS as he moves around. Wyvern's just looking to, he must be looking for some kind of early aggression. I don't think I've ever seen that. He's gonna have to go for something more aggressive, but the jungle items are just so efficient. As he moves around, gets spotted out. DetonatioN FocusMe have to be talking about exactly what it is that he's doing. Utapon's actually coming here into the mid lane, getting some good damage onto Lavia, throwing down the Venomous Cast, getting a Expunge across, but weird. All of DetonatioN is moving around in such weird ways. They do find a Death Sentence onto Wyvern. There's no flash left on that target. Steel's going to find his way. Going to flay onto both members, looking for the first blood. Not quite finding it, as he does safeguard his way under turret. But DetonatioN FocusMe is scrapping really, really hard this early in the game. Lavier is going to teleport back and soak up most of this farm. Man, the Doran's Blade, the red buff Steel, triple Dorans coming out of Nautilus, no surprise there. Early teleports and early near dive onto Wyvern. Vivid's been doing a good job of moving around the map, even though he missed that first death sentence. He wasn't able to get a whole lot there. But I'm really enjoying this Fiesta. We're going to see Paz teleport back up to the top lane in just a moment, as he looks to be waiting for gold, probably for the Tiamat. Yeah, there he goes. But no potions. Achimomo is going more aggressive. Flag and Drag does come out. Not able to come out. That would have been a great catch onto him. Would have forced a flash right after the teleport, and with no potions. Paz doesn't even have a whole lot of mana. That used up half of his mana pool just getting out and getting a couple of CS back right now. And with Wyvern up here, it's in a potentially very dangerous spot until Steel comes up and is able to provide some support. But Utapon is looking pretty solid. Going back to lane, everybody's mostly even. The only real difference that we see right now is Steel Steel realizing that's not the real LeBlanc as Lavia shows back up in the mid lane. I'd like to see at some point teams going for the reverse of that. LeBlanc players actually roaming around but putting down, that little ulted clone just in the mid lane so people think that the real one's the fake one. And just finding something cool there. But right now, Utapon and Vivid just looking for something. Both of these guys sitting on Vamp Scepters here in the bot lane. Not going to be doing a whole lot of early trading so much. It's just, Alright, Steel's going to start up his red buff, getting his first one of the game. 7 minutes. Still sitting on a Doran's Blade. Well, I'm curious what we'll end up seeing out of that, honestly, because he will just have to sell it at some point. It is very efficient. It is cheap. But the jungle items are just so effective early in the game. And I'm curious what is causing him to do that. He does get spotted out on this ward as he is moving into Steel's jungle. Does tag him up a little bit, but gonna end up backing out. And right now, Saros and Lavia and just fighting all across the map. Paz getting that grass proc across Achimomo. Vivid looking for a hook onto Yuki here as they start moving in. Finds the death sentence onto him, and here comes Utapon getting a lot of damage. The Flay brings him back. The blast cone blown up by Vivid, not giving that escape opportunity. Just gonna have to use a stand behind me to run, but he's taken 3/4 of his health bar already, and Vivid and Utapon are just gonna head right back on down and continue to push that advantage. I wonder if they're going to end up giving Utapon another red buff fairly soon. In about 4 minutes or so when the next one spawns, he'll be in a good spot to really start going for those assassination attempts. He'll be able to go back, pick up that Blade of the Ruined King. And right now, Utapon and Vivid are starting to really push around Rascal Jester's bot lane. Noah and Yuki are having trouble just staying in lane a little bit right now, as we just saw that catch onto Yuki, putting him so low, forcing him out. And Utapon is going to now hit level 6 with that Rat-a-tat-tat available to really start pushing around and get those assassinations down. Saros again starting to really push around Lavia here in the mid lane. 15 CS lead again here. Paz and Achimomo again pretty much even. The top lane's been pretty much even for the most part today. Yuki's going to be in potentially a bad spot. They do have a good idea of where he is, but Vivid's not going to move up and really catch him there without good vision on Wyvern and Lavier. They don't know how quickly they could respond and turn that catch into a full-on team fight. They do end up picking this blue buff, and with the Cloud Drake, we saw last time DetonatioN FocusMe did not put a lot of effort or focus into taking this at all. And right now, Lavia and Wyvern just going to be making sure they continue to not put the same kind of aggression onto it. He looks like he's wanting to start it. Does start it up a little bit. Gets spotted out by this ward here, placed earlier by Vivid, but I don't even know if DetonatioN FocusMe are going to try and contest it so much. They are sending Vivid and Utapon a little bit, but without the response from the jungler, I'm not expecting to see a whole lot right now. Wyvern's taking a lot of damage. Saros is looking for anything. Paz is looking for a teleport right now. Not a whole lot of great teleport options. Stealth Sentence does land onto Wyvern. Flay comes across Yuki. He's taking a lot of damage. The Unbreakable comes out. Teleport is cancelled by both top laners. DetonatioN FocusMe just bully their way across. Make sure that Rascal Jester is not in a good spot. And Rascal Jester has had problems team fighting for a while now. They just did not look confident in their ability to get ahead in that event where the fight actually started. Oh, Achimomo fancies his chances here with Paz right now due to the fact that Paz does not have any mana available to him, nor does he have any potions. Just going to be looking for a honey fruit here in the jungle. Try and get that mana back to be able to go back to shoving around Nautilus here in the top lane. But right now, they're currently sitting even. He'll back real quick, pick something up. Utapon is also going to be able to back in just a moment. Pick up probably a completed Blade of the Ruined King, or at least all the components, just as we see Noah's Ash backing. Probably going to be able to do the same thing in just a moment. And yeah, the Bilgewater Cutlass and the Recurve Bow again coming across. Sitting pretty. That's all probably enough in just a moment, as we're going to start to see team fights breaking out a little bit more. Paz is back here. He doesn't know that Achamomo was there, and without the Dragon Strike available to him, Achamomo does potentially have a small opportunity here, but no, just going to pick up all of the CS here as he's building towards that Frozen Heart, so he can really start to spam that E Riptide across. Steel and Vivid are starting to move a little bit more as a unit, which is good to see. Steel not getting caught out yet this game. No kills still as we hit the 12th minute of the game. And just a CS leads across Detonation FocusMe is going to make up the entire gold lead on the team right now. They are starting to put more damage onto the turrets across the board than Rascal Jester. And Achamomo is starting to come down here, moving towards the mid lane. I'm not sure what he's looking for. Just going to look to find a control ward there in the pixel bush. Not going to find anything. And just going to head back to that top lane. Go back to fighting Paz, who now still does not. Uh-oh. Wyvern's here. Gets the flash kick onto Saros. That is going to be an easy kill coming out for Lavi. And that's going to be another kill right here. But Utapone and Vivid using the Cloud Drake going down. They are going to force a teleport out of Lavia. And then Enchant Crystal Arrow forcing the flash out of Saros. Again, canceling a teleport. But good movements here by Wyvern. They continue to focus on Lavia because they know how strong he can be on these different champions. Misses a death sentence there, but if he can get ahead and he's no longer behind in CS, and now that he's up a first blood kill, the gold lead is starting to move back towards Rascal Jester once again. And with that pink ward not quite catching out that green ward right there, it's a very, very interesting spot for Saros to be in. He still has both of his summoners available, but without the use of his ultimate in the next minute or so, he's going to be at much higher risk of getting caught out here. Death Sentence does land onto Yuki once again. The Unbreakable comes out. Rat-a-tat-tat is only doing damage to him due to that, and he is going to be stunned up. Lots of damage going down onto Steel, and here comes a double teleport once again from both of the top lanes. Achamomo is going to be there first. Depth Charge goes across, but Yuki's already the first one down. Paz is trying to find his way on to Noah here. Does find him, but Vivid trades back as well. Paz is still just waiting here for Saros to come down. Steel is on the other side of the map, is going to try and take the top lane. But that is going to be a double kill going over to Lavia here, and that's not the person you want to see. We saw how effective LeBlanc can be so many times, but just having that extra bit of gold, Saros was not able to get there in time. The early roam, the early response coming out from Lavia, doing a fantastic job, and Steel's not even going to be able to take this turret, taking about half of it so far. And now Saros is in a bad spot once again. There's Wyvern here around the back. He's going to safeguard over the wall. In just a minute, there he goes. Going to find his way onto Saros. Not going to find it. The arrow's going to find him. It's going to be a great kill, and they're going to just kick him into the wall. And Saros just shaking his head, putting... Ooh, just not a good time to be Detonation FocusMe, but we've seen them in this spot before. They were in a very similar position last game. But Rascal Jester not able to team fight their way, trying to find their way. Paz is coming in, finishes the Titanic Hydra early, not going for the Black Cleaver pieces quite yet. But we've seen Rascal Jester falter before at the team fighting phase, and right now with some gold onto Utapone, and simply Paz being very strong. Ooh, good damage going down onto Yuki. Uses the Blade of the Rune King and the Rat-a-tat-tat, trying to force that support out. The Expunge comes across, not going to quite be enough, but it is going to force him out with the Dragon spawning soon. Utapone and Vivid are going to try and crush down this turret with the help of Steel, potentially, and get a little bit more gold into the pockets of all of their members. Let's take a look at the health of this turret. Yeah, it's at pretty full health, and without any teleports, they are going to be able to just take it down to about half right now. But it's going to be very messy with the next dragon spawning pretty soon. Detonation FocusMe are starting to take a position around this objective. Steel looking to just get this blue buff taken away from Wyvern and away from Lavia. Smite Fights comes out, does end up going over to Wyvern. No surprise there with the extra bit of execute. Utapone and Vivid want to take this down. They know that the enemy jungler is nearby. Death Sentence does not land. Doran's Blade still just sitting in the inventory, and we'll take another look here at the gank. Nothing really doing. We saw a couple long-range arrows from Zeros earlier in the game, and Noah They're pushing him towards that spot where it's impossible to miss. The arrow take up the entire spot, and that's all they needed to do. They do find it. Paz is fighting Achimomo here. Here comes Saros and a teleport coming out from Lavia. We're going to have at least a 2v2 here, trying to find their way onto the Nautilus, but they're going to be able to put... Look at the damage getting put down onto Saros. He tries to trade it back with the unstoppable power, but it's not going to be enough. Paz is coming. Here comes Steel. DFM is just trying to find their way onto Inu, and Achimomo is staying alive for so long. Paz is out of mana. They do find one kill. Stun does not land onto Lavia, and he's trying to find his way into Paz. Getting a lot of damage, but he's not going to be able to solidify it. They do pick up the dragon on the opposite side, but Steel does find another kill here. Double kill. Oh no, shutdown, excuse me. Also a double kill, but a shutdown going on. Lots of damage, or lots of gold going Steel's way, as they do manage to find the 3v2 overall and are going to be able to take this top turret as well. It was sloppy overall, but they're going to find their way onto Wyvern here, looking for anything they can to turn it back around. They lost the Mountain Drake, but right now they're in a bad spot. Wyvern's going on to Vivid. The wall comes down, or the box, but there's not a great spot for him to go. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow does find its way onto Utapone. He's kicked back across the wall, but Wyvern's already low, but it doesn't matter. He's going to be able to get the Thunderlord's proc and take down Utapone. 7-4 in kills right now for Rascal Jester, but they do find themselves behind in gold as Steel is working at this Rift Herald. This is a very Fiesta game right now, and I think when all is said and done, Detonation FocusMe will find themselves in a great position as they are starting to take these these objectives and put gold across all of their members. Even though Saros is 0-3, look at the damage being put down onto Lavia. He is forced to use the barrier. And Lavia is just really taking control of this game. One of the Korean imports that is doing really well for Rascal Jester. And right now, Steel and Utapone are going to have to find their ways onto different people. The Quicksilver Sash is coming out onto that Twitch, going to keep them a little bit safer in all of these team fights, but not necessarily the most effective item against the CC that Rascal Jester brings. The only thing that really helps against is going to be that Enchanted Crystal Arrow coming out of Noah, the real change, but it's not going to do a whole lot against the Dragon's Rage or the Death Charge right now. Baron's going to be spawning in just a minute, and we do see Steel moving around with the Rift Herald currently on the bottom half of the map as Lavia comes down. Gonna be spotted out by this ward in just a moment. Yeah, there goes the danger pings. Hawkshot comes out and sees that Steel isn't there, but it is going to be able to help them move around much safer. The Cloud Drake means that Utapone is going to try and find his way towards this mid lane here, and we see so many members of Detonation FocusMe trying to come in here. They're going to be using the Rift Herald, try and focus down that mid turret. Lavia is jumping on right here. Teleport coming out of Achimomo. Ooh, lots of damage getting put down onto Saros. But here we go. See how much damage it does. And one more auto attack from that Rift Herald should take it down. But he swings at Wyvern instead. Not going to manage to take it. Currently sitting at only 66 health. And that, they do get the teleport coming out of Achimomo, which is going to allow Paz a little bit more freedom here in this top lane to move around. Achimomo is sitting on that Knight's Vow right now, probably putting it onto Lavia there in the mid lane, simply because he hasn't seen Noah, nor is he nearly as worried about Noah's performance in this game when, you know, you got a 4-1-1 LeBlanc moving around. They should be able to stop this push right here. Utapone sitting invisible, but with Wyvern just waiting there, it's not going to be a good time for them to go aggressive. Without vision on Wyvern, without vision on Lavia, going to be difficult for them to really find their way onto anything. Paz starting to work towards that Black Cleaver as well. The mid lane here is going to be some easy gold going over to DFM's way, but the problem is Lavia is the guardian of the mid lane, and he is scary. Lots of damage. Saros is not able to put damage onto Lavia right now, and the damage he does put on doesn't stick for very long because of the Hextech Gunblade. They just need to breathe on it just a little bit. One more auto attack from anything. It's currently sitting at 4 health. But Detonation FocusMe is better at taking these turrets. That's the second turret they've taken. More gold going across, going over down here in the bot lane. And with the next dragon spawning fairly soon, Detonation FocusMe is just going to just literally look at this turret. They do manage to take it, and that's currently a 3,000 gold lead going across for Detonation FocusMe across the entire team. They'll be just stronger as a group, as we do see, 700 gold lead coming out for Utapone over Noah, in the 1,500 gold lead for Paz over Achamomo. Definitely a good spot for Detonation FocusMe, as they are lengthening the lanes by taking away the defensive structures away from Rascal Jester, giving Utapone more opportunities to find those aggressive points, to find those assassinations onto players like Noah, onto people like Ayamo, and potentially even Lavia, who right now is also in a spot to just kind of turn around the fight and just kill Utapone if he were to show up. It's still scary, still dangerous for Detonation FocusMe to really be all split up like this with the strength that Lavier brings to the table. He is actually currently in the bot lane, going to be split pushing up against Paz with that teleport, and that's a big advantage that Rascal Jester do have for their team right now, is just that extra teleport there. Saros does catch Wyvern a little bit, gets some good damage onto the jungler. Everybody's moving around near the Baron right now, which is a little surprising with the dragon spawning in about 15 seconds. Utapon finds his way onto Yuki, gets some good damage there with the expunge, bringing him down to half health, and that might be enough. With the dragon about to come up, Detonation FocusMe just clearing out playmaking spots, clearing out vision from Rascal Jester. Teleport is not yet available for Achamomo, and with this Ocean Drake, they should be able to take that pretty easily. Steel is going to be able to soul that away. Utapon and Vivid are going to pick up probably a Runa's Hurricane. Well, looks like he's just going to finish the Berserker's Greaves, head back top lane, save their own turret, and potentially just chase down Achamomo in this incredibly long lane that they've built for themselves. Now, right now, all of Rascal Jester, it's kind of everybody's just doing their own thing right now on both teams. Everybody's just looking for their own gold. They are starting to put a lot more resources into Utapon, and overall the CS in the bot lane is looking fairly low, simply due to how much they're fighting and the weird early couple of levels. Vivid is looking for Wyvern, or whoever he can find up here, is going to safeguard away. Knows that Utapon is sneaking around over here. Noah's going to pick up this red buff for himself as well. And if we start seeing red buffs going over to Utapon in the near future, they're going to be in a good spot. The Doran's Blade just sitting in Wyvern's inventory at this point, not really doing him a whole lot. It is nice, but not crucial at all. Ooh, good flay to start that off. Make sure that there's no Banshee's Veil, but good reaction speed at the same time coming out from LeBlanc. Paz is moving around. They are starting to move in ways where they are able to threaten. They are looking at Noah. They know that they don't have any vision, but they don't do a whole lot of damage yet. Paz does good damage. Saros does alright damage. Chandy Crystal comes across. Field goal goes between Vivid and Utapon as they start to move. They know that they're in a much better position now without that engaged tool. Lavia sitting around the side, tries to find his way onto Vivid, just playing around with the distortion, but Paz is here. They do have a short window of 5v4 if they are able to find anything right now. Achamomo is going to regroup with the team, and this looking at that ward for a teleport, not finding it. Look at the damage that Lavia just instantly puts down onto Utapon. Man, the assassination potential coming out from Lavia, and that wasn't even his full combo. They didn't even use his ultimate there. Could have potentially bursted him out. We're going to have to see things like a Knight's Vow coming out from Vivid soon to reduce that damage being put down. Hex Drinkers, the finished Quicksilver Sash, or the Mercurial Scimitar are going to be so crucial for DFM's success in the near future. Looking towards finishing up that Locket, which will help a lot. But there's a lot of things that DFM can do to keep their back line alive. And right now, they're looking alright. Currently sitting on a 3,000 gold lead, waiting for more objectives to spawn. Baron is available, and they do start to move around. They are much more interested in team fighting for Detonation FocusMe than in all the split push nonsense. They don't have a teleport on Saros. They don't have someone who can match both Lavier and Achamomo, it's definitely a position where they need to start finding picks, where they need to start, doing what their composition is designed for, using the Twitch, using the Elise Cocoon and the Scatter of the Week. And they're not in a terrible spot, but we're gonna, man, not finding words right now, but it is starting to get to a tipping point right now. As one team, whoever finds the next good team fight, should be in a fantastic position to really push through the rest of the game. And with no dragon up, and the only objective really being this Baron, we're gonna just kind of dance around for a little bit as we try and find an opportunity for these guys to really push things down. Not actually gonna complete killing that control ward. Wyvern's gonna go in, take some damage there from the Baron. Not gonna matter too much, but it is going to be some damage being put down onto Vivid, trying to find his way onto Utapon. Takes about half of his health there after committing his ultimate. Cocoon lands onto Yuki, not the target you really want to get a fight started on. And Yuki does have the redemption available to him right now, choosing to go for that rather than the Lock of the Iron Solari. Not changed yet, but Steel's in an awkward spot, starting to get caught out. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow not going to land, but he's going to repel. Nowhere left to go. He's going to have to flash across the wall. Never mind the Dark Passage. Good job on Vivid to be able to keep that awareness available, keep his jungler safe. And right now, if a jungler were to die, that would be an instant Baron call by the team. They want to be able to pick that up. And Paz and Achamomo just fighting right now. We see how much more damage Paz is doing than Achamomo. Uses the Cataclysm under turret and not really caring. He's taking so many turret shots, but he's going to be alright with that. Oh no, Cocoon lands onto Lavia. Destins follows it up, and that is, Noah, but that is going to be a kill. And right now, as both of the top laners are sitting at incredibly low health, we see Utapon coming down here for assassination attempt. He's going to be running around the backside. This is very dangerous, but Achamomo's going to be able to use that. Oh, going to have to flash out as the Rat-a-tat-tat goes underneath the inhibitor turret. Utapon's going to have to flash out. Not anywhere for him to go. Lavia comes around here doing so much damage to him, going to force him away, as well as both of his summoners. And here comes the counter teleport once again from Achamomo. Saros is in not a very good spot. Dark Passage is going to have to save him in a moment. There comes the Lantern. Ooh, and the Dredgeline does not manage to find his way onto Saros. And what an awkward series of events right there, as they do manage. Nobody ends up dying, and with this dragon spawning in a couple of seconds, DFM is in a prime spot to take that very quickly. Utapon finishes up the Ruinous Hurricane, and Steel and Saros are going to be able to take this without much contest. But what a long drawn out fight by Paz. He was just looking to kill him, and he was very confident in his ability to do so, but he took so many turret shots that he was not able to actually finish the fight. But Gargoyle Stoneplate coming out for him right now, going to be a much tankier frontliner, and the 50% damage reduction, effective 50% damage reduction coming out of there by doubling your health, is going to be pretty strong in these team fights, especially since it entirely eliminates any chance for Lavia to really burst him out effectively. And right now, we do see Utapon starting to get stronger. As we mentioned, he has the Ruinous Hurricane. Lavia trying to find his way into Saros, blocking a lot of damage. Has to flash away from the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, but he'll be alright. Trying to find their way onto Yuki. Cocoon does land there. Death Sentence follows it up. Little more damage onto him. The Unstoppable Force is blocked by the Unbreakable. What happens there? Utapon does not get kicked in by Wyvern. Fails to get that kick in. And here comes the team fight coming out from Detonation FocusMe. Getting a double kill here onto Twitch. And they're going to move directly towards the Baron. We finally found out what happens when an Unstoppable Force meets an Unbreakable Wall. It doesn't matter. It's going to still break through eventually, with a little bit of help from the friends. But here we go, Detonation FocusMe moving on to the Baron. Not having the Mountain Drakes. It's not the fastest Baron, but without any risk of contest from Achamomo and Noah, they are going to pick this up once again and provide an incredible amount of threat. It looks like Paz is also going to pick up the turret in the mid lane. And just so much gold with the enhanced damage coming out from these Baroned up minions. No risk of contest at all. Going to use that Titanic Hydra and just going to back in the middle of the lane. Detonation FocusMe takes this game and blows it wide open. Misses here. Saros gets pushed around a little bit, but the real story right here comes out from Yuki being in a poor spot, getting hit up in the CC layer and prevent him from going anywhere. But look at Wyvern. He gets onto Utapon, looks for the kick, but doesn't manage to actually pull the trigger. And at that point, Utapon is just able to pour down damage onto both Yuki and Wyvern and ends up picking up another kill for himself. Currently sitting 3-2-2, picking up the Phantom Dancer as his next item. We're going to see either a Last Whisper or Saros dancing on a ward there, but either a Last Whisper or an Infinity Edge coming out next for sure. Just doing so much for his early, or not even early game, but for his burst damage whenever they go for an assassination now. Noah is sitting with a Knight's Vow. Another turret gets destroyed by Paz. Saros does get here. Here comes Wyvern looking for the Dark Passage. Does get pulled out, but the Depth Charge is doing so much. A 5v3 fight coming out here. Here comes Utapon looking for an ultimate. Traps up Noah. Here comes the Rat-a-tat-tat across so many members. Takes out Noah. But Lavia is going to jump onto Utapon as well. Not a whole lot Atyamomo is doing in this fight. And a triple kill going over for Utapon already. Paz is looking for Lavia. Finds more there. Looking for anything he can. He's got a red buff. Paz is going to look for the finishing blows onto Lavia. Whereas Utapon looks for an extended quadra kill. Fights here with Wyvern. He is going to be able to pick that up. And that's a 4th kill in this fight. No official quadra kill, but Lavia is going to be able to find his way out. But the blast cone is still available as he's gonna look. Paz does not want to let Lavia get out of here, and with all the playing around, ooh, one more flag should be enough. Does not quite land it. But we've seen this story before. Antian Savage playing around last time. Man, Paz does not want to fight. He's going nuts in the player cam. He finally gets executed by the Wolves. Paz, oh man, I love watching him. I should watch him stream sometime, simply because he just goes absolutely nuts whenever anything happens. Such an expressive player all around. And right now, as DFM picks up the mid lane inhibitor, they're going to be moving down towards the bot lane. Still have the Baron for about a minute left as they're going to be moving towards taking one more objective. Paz does not have teleport. Where is he on the map? Oh, he's in the top lane right now. They're going to crush down the inhibitor turret. The Enchanted Crystal Arc comes across, finds its way onto Steel, but Utapon's getting stunned up right now. Not a whole lot for him to do. He's just hitting the Unbreakable. He's going to get pulled around, stunned up. He does find his way onto Noah, and that is going to be another kill. Currently a 2-for-1 going over in favor of DetonatioN and FocusMe. They're looking for Atyamomo. Nowhere left for him to go in the middle of 4 members. Another kill goes across. This one goes on to Saros. Vivid's looking for Wyvern, and with the double Cloud Drake, he is fast enough to try and find his way over. They do pop the Banshee's Veil for Lavia, and that is probably going to be all she wrote. A 4-on-2 right now. Baron still available to the members of DetonatioN FocusMe. Oh, no longer available. It does finally run out on Steel, but Vivid and Lavia just kind of Mexican standoff here on the side, and it is going to be the end of the game. Ooh, good scatter of the week is going to make sure that Wyvern has nothing left to do as the GGs come out. 2-0 going over in favor of DetonatioN FocusMe. DetonatioN FocusMe remains near the top of the standings, only 1 game behind Rampage, but still 3-0 on the sets. And doing a great job. And Rascal Jester is still showing some strong signs of life for a team that is currently 0-3, having only picked up 1 game. But that was against one of the top 3 teams. They're going to be in a great spot to play up against Burning Core and 7th Heaven. Not sure what Vivid's looking at, but whatever it is, he's happy with it. They're doing a great job. Paz going nuts a couple of times in there, flailing around with his arms as he misses the kill onto Lavia there, but they're happy with their performance. Saros needs a little bit more attention, a little bit more awards and help. But right now, vote now for your player of the match. Hashtag Paz, hashtag Steel, Saros, Utapon, or Vivid. I'm going to have to give it over to the top laner once again of Paz. We gave it over to Opperman earlier in the day, but Paz was able to get so much work done, able to draw so much attention, just bullying his way through against Atyamomo there in the first game, taking the bot lane inhibitor by himself, taking so much attention, trying to get everything onto himself. And Paz, so aggressive, so much focus, so much aggression, It should be it's not Detonation Focus Me, it's Detonation Focus Paz sometimes, as that's what he just keeps doing. He demands attention, he demands the split push, he demands multiple members. And right now, Detonation Focus Me is looking great. Couple team fights. We were saying earlier, Rascal Jester has had some issues finding the team fights. They seem to get some good picks early in the game, get Lavier ahead, but unfortunately, Wyvern and Lavier are not enough to carry the games through against these higher level teams. But hopefully they'll be able to do well later on in the game. Detonation Focus Me did a good job. They shored up one of the biggest weaknesses they were having of Steel getting caught out a lot in several of their earlier games. And really the junglers for the top 3 teams were getting caught out a lot and putting them in awkward situations for the most part. But without that going on here, they're looking in a good spot to really end everything, much earlier. Vivid coming out here from Shumimi892 for the MVP. Looking at Steel, lots of different opinions. I'm definitely in favor of Paz once again. Saros, unfortunately, was not able to have the same kind of impact. Utapon did all right in both of those games, but until the end of the first game, he didn't necessarily have the same kind of same kind of strength early in the game. But talking once again about the execute onto Lavier, simply Paz running around, and honestly, what an exciting guy. I just really like watching him. I'm going to have to tune into his streams a little bit more right now, and it is going to be a replay. We're going to take a look at this catch here onto Steel. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow comes across, lands on onto Saros as he's pulled back across and just blown up early. But we see a great teleport, a great cataclysm coming out of Paz, locking up several members for Utapon to just blow across the team with the rat-a-tat-tat. Gets a triple kill here. Ochmon was the third one to fall, and then we see Paz running around, just potentially wasting a little bit of time, but he's going to be alright with that. It looks like he was trying to give it over a little bit to Utapon there, but not able to pick it up there. And Utapon at this point is just far enough ahead that he's just going to be able to blow up Wyvern. No chance of countering there. And again, we do have to question a little bit of some of the things that were done in that game, and I'll have to ask later on what exactly the Doran's Blade was doing in Wyvern's inventory, because it just was not effective. They ended up selling it later on in the game, and just because it's just taking up an inventory slot. But good stuff coming out overall from both teams. And if Detonation Focus Me continues to play like this, I don't know if there'll be I don't know if they'll be the number 1 team in the league, but they'll definitely remain up in the top 3. They have very strong lanes. They have a very strong pressure game overall, with a little bit more coordination and a little bit more help towards whichever lane does get camped. In this case, it's Saros is receiving a lot of attention from a lot of the junglers in the game, and if they can keep him ahead or at least even, they'll be a fantastic spot. Utapon and Vivid are jumping ahead in CS, getting that bot lane turret pretty much without help from their jungler. Paz is really bullying around just about everyone, and we are going to see player of the match is going to be going over to Vivid this game, playing the Thresh to great effect, landing some good death sentences, going some good flays, and just great map awareness, moving around the map. We talk about Doko Demo Dara, right? The Anywhere Dara, moving around, but Vivid is doing the exact same thing, picking up those early mobility boots, moving around, and just trying to help wherever he can. But with that, we are going to see the end of the standings in just a moment. We do see Rampage and Detonation Focus Me both currently sitting 3-0, followed up by Unsold Stuff Gaming, currently sitting at 2-1. Rascal Jester, Seventh Heaven currently at 1-2, and then Rascal Jester and Burning Core currently sitting at the bottom of the standings, both 0-3. We're gonna see another interview here for Vivid by Katsudion, but unfortunately I don't speak good enough Korean or Japanese to give a good translation here. One day I'll be able to convince someone to help me out with that, but for right now, we're just going to be going into the end of the event. Thank you for watching, everyone. This has been your host, Joshua Joshi Howard, we do see you can hit me up at Twitter at Joshi_TV. You can find us on YouTube, Joshi TV as well there. Check it out. We'll have VODs available coming up in the next couple of days, as well as all the information you're going to want to see coming up on Monday as we break it down on Reddit. But until then, thanks for watching. Have a good night, everyone.
も読まなければならないし、敵の動きも読まなければならないと思うんですけれども、あれってコツとかってあったりするんですかね。
일단 팀원들한테 제가 이제 랜턴을 이쪽으로 던져줄 테니까 이쪽으로 와라 이렇게 말을 하거나 아니면은 이제 상대 일단 1경기 같은 경우에는 자크가 점프 뛸때 이제 자크 점프 뛸때 랜턴을 한번 살려주면은 자크의 이제 그 강한 모습이 조금 사라지니까 그렇게 계속 말을 했어요. 랜턴 좀 생각하면서 게임해달라고.
チームメイトに対して使うときにはこっち側に投げるのでこっちに来てくれとかそういう形で指示を出しますね。で、1ゲーム目の時はそのジャンプごめんなさいザックが、ジャンプした時にその強さを生かすために、使いました。
ああ、なるほど。そして今回スレッシュを使ってそして夏からというべき